It's time to call this public hearing / regular school board meeting of the Board of Trustees for San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Madam Secretary, would you do us the honor of calling roll?
Ms. Chavez?
Present.
Mr. Overfeld?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Galindo?
Here.
Ms. Haynes?
Here.
And myself, where we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let the records show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting was duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we'll have opening ceremonies first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First item that we don't have any recognitions, but we have citizens to be heard. In accordance with the law, no deliberations, discussion, or decision will be made other than to consider a proposal to place the subject on the agenda for a subsequent meeting, unless the subject is listed on the board agenda, in which case it may be discussed by board. A written response acknowledgement may be provided. Oral comments are limited to up to a maximum of 5 minutes in length and may be reduced in the discretion of the board president in the interest of time and efficiency, unless extended by a majority of the trustees, and must not mention any employee by name or position or contain any personally identifiable reference. If multiple people wish to address the same topic or item, the board may request that a spokesperson be selected to speak. First person that we have is Jesus Mesa, and the topic being budget.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Board President Mesa, and school board members. My name is Pastor Jesus Mesa from Jesus de Nazaret Church and a leader of the board organization. On our accountability session held on April 21st of the present year, all school board candidates were asked if they would commit to working with us to obtain an increase in pay. All candidates stated yes. In fact, one candidate stated he would fight for $15 for entry-level hourly wage earners. We are here tonight to remind the re-elected board members and the new school board members of that commitment. 1.5% is not a meaningful increase. We are asking for a meaningful increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person that signed up is Rocio Reina. Again, topic being budget hearings on public hearing today.
Buenas tardes, Superintendente, Dr. Ríos y miembros de la mesa directiva. Mi nombre es Rocío Reina, soy miembro de la organización fronteriza y de la Asociación de las Trabajadoras de las Cafeterías. Trabajo de Food Service Worker en la cafetería de Freshman. Tenemos entendido que piensan dar el 1.5% de aumento para todo trabajador del distrito escolar. Quiero comentarles que el 1.5% para los que trabajan por salario sí se les va a reflejar un buen aumento, pero para los que trabajamos por hora es un insulto. ¿Por qué decimos que es un insulto? La inflación en todo el país es de 8.6%. Este aumento es histórico porque en los últimos 40 años no se había visto algo así. El aumento de la gasolina de $2 subió a $4. Eso es un 100%. Además, la luz, el agua, el gas, los alimentos básicos, todo esto ha aumentado de entre 30 y 50%. Todos estos aumentos nos afectan a todos, pero más a los que recibimos un salario por hora. Ahora voy a hablar de mí. Como ejemplo, el 1.5% a mi salario son 0.15 centavos por hora, que es un total de 172.68 centavos al año. Otro ejemplo, una de mis compañeras con 16 años de antigüedad, el aumento de 1.5% serían $241.92 al año. Un último ejemplo, una compañera con 34 años de antigüedad, el aumento de 1.5% serían $288 por año. Ahora, les pedimos que contemplen, por favor, un 10% a las personas que trabajamos por hora y el 1.5% sea para las personas que trabajan por salario. Otra opción que tenemos sería un aumento de $2 por hora a las personas para nosotros y que siga el 1.5% a las personas que trabajan por salario. Muchas gracias y buenas tardes.
Gracias.
Mr. Mesa, they have asked that I translate this into English,
Yes.
if I may. My name is Rocio Peña. I'm a member of the Border Organization and the Association of Cafeteria Workers. She works as a food service worker at Del Rio Freshman School. She understands that there is an option of 1.5% increase for the district worker, and she would like to comment that the 1.5% for the workers, for the salaries, reflects a good increase, but for those workers that are hourly workers, it is an insult. She is saying that because we decide that is it an insult? She says that because of the inflation. She says that in the whole country, there has been an 8.6% increase in salaries historically. In the last 40 years, we have not seen an increase of that kind. The increase in the gasoline has increased $2. It increased at 4%. That is also 100% of an increase. Water, gas, basic needs, all of those have had a 30% increase. All of those things affect them, but most of all, it affects their salary for the hourly employee. She says now she's going to talk about her personal case. The 1.5% salary would give her a total of $172.68. Another example for a person who is 16 years of service, a 1.5% increase would be $291.92 per year. Another example for a person with 34 years, that increase at 1.5% would yield $288 per year. We ask that you consider a 10% increase for all the persons that work and on the hourly, and that a 1.5% for salary, or a $2 per hour increase per hour, and to continue with a 1.5% for salaried employees.
Thank you very much. This time we'll open up the public hearing. Item 6 on the agenda. First item we have is budget and tax rate. Amy Childress.
Sorry, it's not showing. That's right, it's not casting on.
What's the problem, maybe?
It's not casting onto the screen.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll help you. It's right behind.
I did Windows P, it's still out. Okay,
Hey, well, did he fix it or no?
no, he's got to see in the back.
Oh, okay.
There it goes. There we go. Can y'all see it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, we will be conducting a public hearing to discuss the 2022-2023 executive budget and discuss the proposed tax rate. The areas we will be covering this evening are budget compliance, budget projections, which consist of certified values and attendance projections, as well as the executive budgets that we will be proposing to adopt this evening, which are the general fund, the debt service, and the food service budgets. Texas Education Code sections 44.001 through 44.006 contain procedures and requirements for adopting the budget and tax rate. We did adhere by our compliance, and we did publish the notice of the budget and proposed tax rate meeting that's being held currently, and it was published on June 8th and June 9th in the 8:30 Times and the Uvalde newspaper. Tax Code Section 26.04 and CCG Legal Local Revenue Sources for Ad valorem Taxes states that the board may levy, assess, and collect annual ad valorem taxes for the maintenance of the district schools. By August 1st, or as soon thereafter as practicable, the taxing unit's collector shall certify an estimate of the collection rate for the current year to the governing body. Our property tax values are one of the most important components for calculating revenue for the general fund and the debt service fund. The 2022-2023 preliminary freeze adjusted taxable values are $2,505,950,375. This represents a 13.91% increase to the 2021 certified taxable value. The 2022 certified values will be released by July 25th. So the budget is currently being proposed on the preliminary values. With the information and the values that we have at this time, a tax rate of 0.9363 is the projected 2022-2023 M&O rate, and the tax collections would be $22,909,904. Another very important component in calculating revenue is the attendance. FEB Legal states our attendance in accounting. Says the district shall maintain records to reflect the average daily attendance, or ADA, as required by the commissioner. Average daily attendance is a component of calculating the foundation school program. On the screen, we have the ADA and the attendance projections from the last 5 years, as well as the projected ADA for the 2022-2023 year. Enrollment provides the basis for staffing. However, the ADA is the basis for computing state aid. The correlation between the two is very important. And as you can see, the blue line is our enrollment. The orange line is our actual ADA, and it's important to see for the last 2 years, for 2020-21 and 2021-22, we did receive hold harmless ADA counts and funding from the state due to our enrollment. Our actual enrollment for ADA for 2020-21 was 8980. However, the district qualified for home hardless ADA of 9370. And for the 21-22 projected budget year, we're projecting an ADA of 8349. But the district should qualify for hold harmless ADA of 8739. And there will be no hold harmless for the 2022-23 school year at this time. Going forward, we're going to look at the 3 executive budgets that we're looking to adopt this evening. The first one is the general fund. The general fund is the main operating fund of the district. It is a governmental fund used to account for transactions from ongoing operations and activities and a variety of revenue sources. The most significant sources of revenue for the general fund are state funding and property tax receipts. The general fund portion of the projected tax rate is 0.936300 per $100 of taxable property value. This projected tax rate reflects a change from the 0.975200 tax rate set in the previous 2021-22 year. When composing this year's budget, some of the things that were considered, one of them is our salaries. The proposed budget is composed with a 3% general pay increase to midpoint for all employees, a 1.5% additional increase for paraprofessional and auxiliary employees, and an increase to the minimum hour pay rate to $13.50, which is the first year of a 2-year implementation of a $15 an hour minimum pay rate. This is a total cost to the district of $3,872,289. Another item that was considered was our health insurance fund. The annual district contribution per employee will decrease from $7,725.36 to $6,525.36, which is a $50 per employee each pay period for the 2022-23 year beginning July 1st of 2022. The SFDR CISD self-funded health insurance plan year starts on January 1st of 2023. Options that are continually being considered are to offer an option of a no-cost insurance plan, to conduct an evaluation of contributions, and to implement a wellness rate program to incentivize wellness participation. For the 2022-2023 proposed budget for general fund, we're proposing revenues of $95,114,520. And we are proposing expenditures of $102,504,793, which is a deficiency of revenue over expenses of $7,390,273. This slide represents a general fund crosswalk. Again, it shows the total expenditures by function as well as by object area. And as you can see, 84.6% of our budget is salaries. 6% of our budget is professional and contracted services. 4.2% are supplies. 3.4% are travel and miscellaneous expenditures. 1.5% are debt payments, and 0.4% are capital improvements. In putting, again, and composing the proposed budget before you this evening, we provided you with an interactive workbook, and at this time I'm just going to go over a summary of the interactive workbook and the choices that were used in proposing tonight's budget. The general pay increase was the 3% model with the $15 hour starting rate implementation, the 2-year implementation. The 3% increase is a cost of $2,823,777. And the $15 an hour, the first year implementation to move it to $13.50 is a cost of $1,048,522. On the personnel, we're looking at conversions at a cost of $102,425. And it was to remove the head band director, fine arts coordinator, convert that position into 2 positions, one the director of fine arts and the head band director. The other conversion was to convert the counselor position at Early College High School to an assistant principal position at Early College High School. Also under personnel, we have new positions at a cost of $501,142, and that was for the addition of a police lieutenant and 8 police officers. Also under personnel, we had master schedule reductions for a total reduction of $1,451,805, as well as some excess and hold positions that we had that reduced the budget by $202,323. Under loss of learning, we have to add 3 ESL strategists, and that is a cost of $204,222. Under reductions, we have the insurance contribution, which is a reduction of $1,680,000, and that's the $50 per employee per pay period. We have a 10% reduction to campus workbooks for a reduction of $108,293, and then a 20% reduction for program workbooks for $2,373,860. Under construction, we have included the asphalt replacement at Del Rio Freshman, Chavita, and the warehouse for a total of $100,000. Under operations, we have included the HVAC at Garfield for $250,000. The refinishing of the gym floor at the Del Rio High School and the Del Rio Middle School for a total of $65,000. Campus furniture at Chavita Elementary for $30,000. And the purchase of one yellow bus for $130,000. Then we also have technology. We have the purchase of MDF, IDF, HVAC for a cost of $18,000. And then we have under projects, the old Garfield warehouse for a cost of $70,000.
Mr. Mesa.
Question, Dr. Rios?
Mr. Mesa, before we go on to the other parts of the budget, this budget was composed based on input that we received on the interactive workbooks and trying to get a balance between what the different board members suggested. Now, I know that everything that the board members suggested isn't included on here. It's a balance, but at this time, before we go on, this would be the time to discuss amongst yourselves if there's anything that should be removed or still added to the workbook. And Ms. Childers has the workbook, or if there's anything that needs to be clarified.
Absolutely. We have a lot of questions from all of us, really. It's not just the new board members, but there's still a lot of questions to be answered. So this is a good pause. I'll turn it over to any board member.
I'm sorry?
Questions on the budget?
I'm just not maybe fully prepared. I'd like to hold on and maybe we don't have to approve the budget today. Am I clear?
Yes. Today's the day. It has to
Today's
be.
the day?
Yes.
I was under the understanding that it wasn't.
Well, there's a couple of things I
I'm
think.
sorry, I just,
There's a couple of things that I'd like to clear up first. For example, on the campus budget, it was separated from the rest of the departments. And so my understanding was, I felt like the last time that everybody was in agreement pretty much that inflation has gone up quite a bit. You know, the dollar doesn't reach as far as it used to in previous years, especially for the campuses. I know my response to that was zero. I didn't want for any reduction from the campus budget. Additionally, I have a question on the insurance, for example. Are we saying $50 monthly? This is for all employees.
No, sir, we're saying 100. We're talking about the reduction of the district's contribution. It doesn't affect anything on the employees. They're not being asked to contribute any money.
Okay, what I saw there was $50 per pay period.
Yes, sir, but the reason the district is going to contribute $50 less is because
Less.
because
Okay.
the ESSER funds helped us build the fund balance for the health insurance significantly. So we no longer need to contribute at the level that we were contributing before. As a matter of fact, our fund balance now is about 3.3 million is what it's expected to be. So for the foreseeable future, the district's contribution is enough.
Okay. Okay, now, going back to everything else, looks fine. The only thing, I don't know if everybody completed their interactive workbook. The old Garfield warehouse, I think, was that listed in the projects?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, if we do not get the certified values until July 25th, we don't really know what revenues we're getting.
Correct. So we will get the certified values in July. At that time, we come back in by the end of September, we need to adopt our tax rates. At that time, depending on what our actual revenue is, we can then do budget amendments at that time to revise the revenues.
Okay. And my other question is this. This is the earliest we have ever approved a budget. I mean, I feel for the new board members that there's still so many questions that need to be answered. I'm trying to help as much as I can. But Dr. Rios, isn't it August 1st, the deadline?
No, sir. The deadline is the end of the month, and this is the second year we do the budget. We did the budget, we did the budget
changed.
change to adopt before June 30th, so that we could build the fund balance, and we now have. And we'll talk about the fund balance on Thursday's meeting when we do the amendments.
Okay. So, okay, for
So-
the benefit of the new board members,
Yeah, I just, I guess misunderstood and was thinking that next Thursday when we meet, that was gonna be where we would approve.
it still could be done next
I
Thursday.
mean,
You got amendments.
it's,
We have
we can
to-
amend there,
We
right?
have to
Thursday.
close out the budget so that we're able to do our amendments this
Okay.
coming Thursday. And the budget that was proposed and advertised in the newspaper was to be adopted today. Now, having said that, let me just give Amy a chance to coach us up on this. Amy, what happens if we table this item today and then try to do both amendments and budget on Thursday?
We can do that. We do have until the 30th of the month to adopt the budget. The only thing I need to check on is whether or not we will have to repost the public hearing. I mean, because we're conducting the public hearing now, so I believe that'll take care of that. But I would need a little bit further
So then what
guidance
happens-
on that part.
What happens with the time period that we have to post? Because we did post for Thursday today.
Yes. Normally, you have to post the notice of the public hearing 10 days, a minimum of 10 days prior. So we would need to post it today. We would have had to post in the newspaper today in order to have a budget hearing on the 30th. But like I said, since we're having, like I said, I would need some guidance. Since we're having the actual hearing right now, we can close out the hearing and just possibly not adopt the budget today.
Yeah, the hearing's fine, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering, Mr. Mesa, if we can just continue to talk through the questions and have the board deliberate what they prefer or don't prefer. As far as the tax rate, and we can do amendments at that time. And the board, just so you know, the board does have, because of moving the adoption to June, the board does have a comfortable fund balance should something happen. It's not gonna happen, it's not gonna exceed the fund balance that we have. So you would be able to cover any shift in it through allocation of fund balance at the time.
okay. I'm just gonna say, for my purpose, everything that I see so far looks fine to me, okay? The only thing is, I had forgotten about the fiscal year where we changed it from August 1st to June 30th. So with that being said, I don't know, I'll turn it over to other board members for questions. I know Becky, needed more time, so we still have Thursday that we could adopt the budget. But the hearing, I mean, so far, things look okay for me. Yes.
Just so that everybody is, the big piece that I'm assuming we all agree on, I say we, counting ourselves amongst you, is the salary increase. That, I think that I've gotten enough feedback from the board saying that there's a couple that wanted to do more this year, but I hope I explained, and I'll explain again about what this does to the following year. So that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, when I was going to ask, excuse me, may I speak? Mr. President.
Ms. Gonzalez?
On this summary of the interactive workbook, is this a consensus of what the board members agreed on or asked for or said so? Or is
Yes,
it
ma'am.
just
It's a
so-
consensus
of what we said?
what the board members submitted and what we talked about over the last discussions and questions that they had with me over the last, really the 2 weeks.
I'm asking about the $15 an hour starting rate, 2-year. We all said okay on that? Not everybody did that I know
Well,
of.
not everybody did, but
Consensus, most of us
the
did?
consensus was,
Because I'd like some more information on that.
May I speak?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Um,
Becky?
Um, On the consensus of the $15, I had talked to personnel, and I thought I still had till this week, before Thursday, to give you all an input on the budget. What is it called? The interactive workbook, and I haven't completely done that.
No, ma'am. It was just on the conversations we had. You were the only one that
Yeah.
So I'll ask a question. Becky, did you favor the 2-year or 1 year?
On the, you're talking about the $15?
Yes.
I favored not the 2-year, the 1 year. The 1 year.
The 1 year? Anyone else?
Mr. Mesa, I'm gonna
Yes,
switch
Amy?
it up a little bit, but you mentioned the budget, the campus budgets.
Yeah.
Did you get that drawn out? Is it separate here somewhere and I missed it?
The
I
campus?
remember you asked for it separately.
Yes, it was at the
It's on the
top.
interactive, so I need to see that, Dr. Rios. I'd like
Sure,
to see
we can
that.
bring it. Can you bring it up, ma'am?
Sorry, my mouse isn't cooperating. So here's the workbook reductions.
We
Oh,
can't
can't
see
see
it.
it.
Does, Willard, can you help out? Willard, she got it.
Okay, so on the reductions tab, under workbook reductions, I split out, here's the campus reductions. And then we have the other programs.
So, on the programs, we said reduce 20%. And that's programs such as athletics, for example, UIL. And then on the campus budgets, yesterday in the board update, we shared with you the amount of money that the campuses had not spent prior to May 31st. Correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am, but I believe that was about 12%,
Of the total that we gave them, it was about 15%.
about 15%. So they didn't spend through May 31st, 15% of the total budget. So reducing it by 10% doesn't, it still leaves them more money than what they actually, obviously, we're going across the board, right? We're not making, there aren't individual campuses. For example, high school only had 6% left. But overall, it's a less reduction than what the money was actually left over. But if y'all want, we can take a break in a little bit, and I'll call the attorney and just say, hey, you know, is there a problem with the hearing? We've had the hearing. Can we still wait to adopt the budget, and we can repost the agenda for Thursday? I don't want y'all to feel rushed, but I know that I had enough conversations with y'all individually to arrive at this. I think the big issue was whether we were gonna go to $15 starting pay for paraprofessionals and hourly, or were we gonna do it over 2 years? I mean, it was a good discussion, but I think that the overall agreement was that, you know, to give an increase of $3.50 an hour was significant. That's the biggest dollar item. Everything else, you know, we can always amend.
Yeah, if I could, I want personally, the discussion for campus funds, leftover campus funds. Sorry. Anyway, that's for another discussion, because I have some things that I need to make sure that I get across, especially to the principals here. Because when you add like 7th and 8th grade together, it was somewhere like 45% of the budget that was left over. And to us as board members, it doesn't look good when teachers don't have supplies. And then I saw people today at Walmart buying a bunch of TVs, and I'm thinking, man, they must have spent the last day of, buy everything you can just so it won't look as bad. But it looks bad because if you're going to the department meetings and you're telling your teachers, what else do you need? Can I have some money available? Can you use it? That's using the money wisely, not waiting for the last week to spend it. And it should be done on curriculum items, supporting the curriculum that you have, not on artsy, craftsy materials, from the warehouse. But that's another discussion. I want the budget, and I asked for that report on the campuses because, in past years, there's 40,000 left on one campus, and it's, to me, that's not productive because you have teachers that need supplies, and that money should be going to teachers. But I'll ask the board right now, do you want to have some discussion? Right now, as far as me personally, what I've seen is okay. The other part is, Dr. Rios, if you could, in the meantime, ask council to see if we could delay it till Thursday.
Sure.
And I'm sure, that the hearing is the one that is the most important one, that needs to be advertised. But as far as, if we have the deadline of the 30th, we still can complete it by Thursday. But other members, discussion? I know Mrs. Webb.
If I'm correct right now, you said that the hourly rate, unless I'm wrong, is $10 an hour right now? Is that what it is?
No, ma'am, that's the minimum for the lowest paid individual. Just from where you're at, Ms. Aida Garcia, what's the minimum hourly rate for a bus monitor, for example? Okay, so somebody who's making $10.25 would come up to $13.50. Now, somebody who's already making $13.50 would obviously go up to whatever TASB comes out to, but I'm sure it would be north of $15 already, because it's everything shifts up. So it's now, and it moves up from there. If you make $11.50, then you're going to go up to close to 14. Now, we don't have the specifics until TASB sends us. So you approve it, then TASB will work it, and then by next year, nobody will be making under $15 an hour, even the lowest paid pay grade.
Because unless I'm wrong, what was discussed when we had the accountability session with the board organization, they mentioned something about having an increase at least of $1 an hour for the hourly. And if we're looking at this correctly, we're looking at $3.50 an hour increase?
It's
And
definitely
getting
like
to-
that for the lowest paid person, and we know that one for sure, but for everybody else, it would be very close to that, very close to it. It's huge.
And then they just mentioned right now, it was mentioned 1.5 additional increase for paraprofessionals, which is what was mentioned today. So that's what's in here.
Right,
At
but-
least that's what I see.
Yeah, but the 1.5 was just above the 3.0, so I don't know where they got the 1.5. If you approve, let's say you didn't approve the 2-year plan for the $15 an hour, then everybody would get 3%. Paraprofessionals and hourly would get 4.5%. So I don't know where they got that money. I mean, I don't know where they got that. I don't know where they're confused. But if you approve the 3% and don't approve the $15 2-year plan, then they get 3% plus 1% at a total of 4.5%. That's if you don't approve the $15 an hour. If you approve the $15 an hour, then that's a higher of the two. Then don't worry about the 3% and 1.5. The move towards $15 will be higher than that.
And then the other comment that I was gonna make, all employees are still getting all their health insurance paid at 100%. So
Absolutely.
that is very few districts do that. And that's one of the things that I know that we have discussed that at great length, because we do not want our employees to have to pay health insurance. That's something that we just don't want them to do. But I don't know if Josh or anybody else has any other comments.
I'll turn it over to
I do.
Mr. Galindo.
And listening to y'all come up and comment, you know, y'all been here throughout every meeting, and we thank y'all for being here and taking into consideration. But in listening to your request, I think, you know, and that's what I really wanted to say is, could we get it further explained? And thank you for explaining it further of how if we increase to 3% and you would still get a 4.5%, based off what you were asking, we're pretty close to, if we adopt either a 2 or 1 year plan, it's pretty close to what you were asking. And we want you to know, just, you know, y'all are valued at what, you know, you do, and that's why this discussion, there hasn't been much of a discussion of it being over 3 years, because we've listened. I remember speaking to one of y'all saying, we can't wait 2 more years, we can't wait 1 more year. We're trying to meet in the middle, okay? We don't, you know, the 3 years is far off, we're trying to meet y'all in the middle. We can't do 1 year, give us a year, we'll get you if it goes to the 2 years, but we're still giving you that general increase because we do appreciate and value everybody's work. But we are listening, we just want to make sure it's understood. We do want to do the best that we can to make sure that we can give every employee what they need here. And like Mrs. Webb was stating, we do not want to pass off that cost of health insurance off to y'all based off any drastic, you know, votes or measures, because then that money that goes back to y'all is going to go back to just paying your insurance. So just understand, we are trying to look at everything, and these decisions are ones that we were put up here to make, but please understand, I wanted just that explained, and Dr. Rios explained it, that if you go with the 3% and a 1.5, you're getting a 4.5%. It's not just a 1.5% as what's been mentioned. That number, like you said, where that came from, we don't know. It was never gonna be just a 1.5% for any of y'all. That was inclusive of as well as what the 3% was, and like he's saying, if we decide to do a 2 year or the 1 year, it's all inclusive of what you're getting. But just want y'all to know, thank y'all for showing up. We are listening to y'all, we do hear y'all. We just want y'all to understand that we're trying to figure out to make sure how we can still run the district overall and make sure y'all feel valued as well. That's my only comment.
Thank you, Mr. Galindo. And I want the employees to understand that there's a lot of information that we take as board members. We do a salary study, and the trend was, and the discussions that we have here is we're going to concentrate on the hourly wage and try to bring them up as much as possible to reach that goal of $15. You know, we know that across the board, whether it's McDonald's or every other place, you know, they're doing at Walmart, $15 an hour, and so we want to get there. The only thing is, you know, we're working as best as we can to get there, and I think this would be good progress if, you know, we do what is on the budget for tonight. And I just want to mention again that, you know, the whole focus has been on hourly wage. We understand, you know, what the needs are. We understand the inflation rate, you know, what's going on everywhere, that it's harder to meet, you know, demands for everything, gasoline, food, items, and so forth. So we're trying our best to do for the employees, especially the hourly wage. I'll turn it over to Mr. Orfold.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me. Couple quick questions. I got the workbook last night, and when I've got it pulled up on my phone, and I've also got it pulled up here on my laptop. And under construction tab, at the very bottom, and it doesn't show on the one that's showing here on my laptop, but buried down at the bottom, it has an option for 9 at Laughlin Elementary at the magnet, and it says aide, elementary teacher, elementary teacher, elementary teacher, elementary teacher, physical ed, nurse, secretary, principal, and counselor. But if you look on that one, it's not showing it. So I'm just curious as to why the same file shows on Same file shows on my phone.
That's probably an old file, and Amy must have cleaned it up for tonight's presentation, from when we first added the law for magnet.
It could be, I copy year to year, I use, and it could have just been like
Okay,
that.
because I mean, it's the same one that's in the update that you sent out last night. So I pulled it up on here too, so I just didn't know if it was a ghost in the programming.
No,
Per
that's
se.
just left over from previous
Okay.
years.
On to the stuff that really matters. Absolutely, inflation is going out of control. If you go in and you follow the news, and anybody who has a retirement account tied to the stock market, just in the last month, $3 trillion was erased because of what the stock market's gone in and done in people's retirement and retirement accounts. And the Federal Reserve has acknowledged that interest rates have gone up 0.25%. There are individuals who are now locked out of not able to buy a home and stuff like that. We know that valuations of homes are through the roof. We've seen them go up here in Del Rio. I get to protest mine tomorrow. But in Austin, they're going up $200,000+ on the valuation of your home, and this will all come back and make sense. Depending on where you live, the valuation of your home goes up $20,000+. That's another X amount in taxes that you have to go in and pay. If you don't own the house and it's not built into your mortgage, you have to write that check yourself. And there are a lot of individuals who are going to ultimately be priced out of their home, where they cannot afford it anymore, and they will have to default on taxes, and then their house gets seized by the county, so forth and so on, depending on where they're living in the state of Texas. Coming back to inflation and pay, I know that for the teachers who are watching, and I've had conversations with some of y'all, but for those who are watching and those who aren't, who will watch this later, I want to try and explain what has been laid out to me when it comes to these huge pay increases that you're seeing out of the big ISDs, Houston and Austin and others, where they're going in and they're giving $6,000 and $7,000 or $11,000 pay increases. That's all being done. They're all using ESSER funding. Every district got ESSER funding depending on its size during the pandemic, number of students, and so forth and so on. So they're going in and they're front-end loading that salary, but the problem is in 2 years, there's no more ESSER funding that will be available. And those districts are going to have to make massive cuts in their programs to sustain that ongoing pay raise. If we did the same thing, if we went in and did the same thing, in 2 years we would be looking at massive cuts to do that. Even with where we're going, in 18 months to 2 years, we're going to be facing some really, really tough decisions when it comes to stuff that we are going to have to reduce. And we're not even proposing a massive pay raise because we know ESSER can't support anything like that. We know that in the coming legislative session, the Texas legislature is coming for public education in the sense of trying to defund it. We're going to see 2011 all over again, and it's probably going to be even worse. And that trickles down to the local school districts that are suddenly going to have to go in and figure out where do we get this other funding. You look at our tax rate and we're compressing, we're lowering it 0.038900. Why? Because the state of Texas passed under, what was it, House Bill 3, there that we had to continuously compress the tax rate. As we compress the tax rate, there's money that's lost there. It's going to be very difficult to fund public education in the coming years. And I just want everyone to understand that it's not the 7 of us up here, or the team of 8, including the superintendent, that are going in and saying, oh, well, we've just got to cut this and that, we're not going to give this. No, there are elected officials way above us who have put us into this position. And in November, everyone needs to go in and vote accordingly. The $15 an hour in there, again, I absolutely understand where you're coming from. Hourly. I used to do, early on in my career, before I got into education and stuff like that, I was hourly. The economy was different back then. The economy is changing right now. Every time I have to go fill up the vehicle, I fear what the pump is going to go in and tell me the final total is, and stuff. Electricity is going up. Everything's going up. So, as Mr. Galindo said earlier, we absolutely value you. We know who runs the show behind the scenes. We know who feeds our kids and takes care of them and keeps the schools clean and goes in and makes sure that everything goes in and operates. Absolutely, it should be the 15 in 1 year. I know the supposed consensus is 2 years. In full disclosure, I'm at 15 in 1 year. As far as the campus budgets there, just in the last week, I counted in excess of 5 teachers, and I'm sure there were more, that were putting what they needed for the coming year on a website called donorschoose.org, where major corporations will match you what you raise. And a bunch of these teachers were getting funded by General Motors, by GM. And to go in and see our teachers having to crowdsource for materials, for STEM projects and different things like that, it scares me the direction that everything is going because of inflation and so forth and so on. Was that a ramble? I'm sure it sounded like it. But I wish we could pay teachers like the professionals they are. Just like we pay doctors and lawyers in excess of $100,000+, you damn well deserve to be paid like that. Our hourly, we should be paying you $20+ an hour and stuff like that to go in, and because you take care of our kids. I know several of you who take care of my son and daughter at the school, and I thank you for that. In closing, I'm at the 15 in 1 year, and we definitely need to look at at being able to provide for our teachers what they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orfeld.
Mr. Mesa.
Yes, Dr. Rios?
Amy, can we fast forward to the last slide, just to put things in perspective?
On the
And then
presentation?
the very last slide, or the second to the last slide.
That was very good.
Okay, so this is, I'm just recapping the information that we already shared because I just want to clarify. If we adopt the budget as presented today, okay, we are presenting it with a 7.39% general fund deficit. That's money we don't have already, okay? So next year, to that money, we add another $800,000 for the other half of the 2-year implementation for the $15 an hour. So that deficit goes up a little bit. Now, here's some ways that we can correct that deficit for next year. We will have $4.7 million left in ESSER, but then it's gone after that. Years after that, there's no more ESSER. It's the last piece of money that's there. Okay. The board could choose to remove the optional homestead exemption, but that means that I just know that in previous years, the board thought about it, they did it, and then they changed their mind when they really found out what they were doing. That's $3.3 million that the board could get if they remove the optional homestead exemption. But that means telling every taxpayer in the community, you're gonna pay more taxes than what you have in the past. Now, truth be said, we're one of the few districts that still has that optional local homestead exemption. But again, the board has to vote to do that, and that's gonna be very difficult. Then the board could also choose to go in there and ask the employees to pay for their health insurance.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, but part of it. And at least for next year, now granted, that's not giving a raise to anybody other than the hourly for next year. That leaves us an excess of $734,000 for next year. Okay. But again, we're not giving a raise to anybody at all, and we're not taking out any bigger projects. The year after that, we still have the same type of deficit, and now it's about 8.2, and still haven't given any raises. So when the board decides, and I'm just recapping what we talked about over the last week, when the board decides what they want to do in terms of raises and whether we cut back budgets at the campuses or not, just know that we're at an $8 million deficit. And I would not want to place the board in a position where you have to vote to remove the optional homestead exemption, at least not drastically in that manner. But that's what it would take. And we've talked about this, but I'm just reminding everybody of where we're at, because I just think that when we talked about it, I didn't have, I felt like I had a consensus. But again, I also made it clear to the board members, they're your schools, they're your money. We only administrate it for y'all. But that's what we're up against. So, Mr. Mesa, if we can pause after the hearing for 5 minutes, I can try to get one of the attorneys on the line just to see if we can postpone it until Thursday. But I just felt like we had enough conversation to where everybody understood the deficit that you were creating and the need to go and remove the homestead exemption. There's no other way to make it.
Sure. I just want to interject a couple of things. For the new board members, ESSER funds came from COVID to purchase needed equipment, air filtration, loss of learning, extended year, summer school, all those things. We have, it's for next year, we have that money. After that, it disappears. The other thing that really hurt us is attendance. I keep stressing the importance of attendance. The campus principals, parental persons in the campus, that's a one sure way of raising funds, of having good attendance, and it's been declining. This final 6 weeks, there was a push and an increase, a slight increase, but we've gone down below 90% quite a bit, and so we hope that's going to improve for this new year. And as Mr. Orfeld was talking, I recall Houston, for example, giving an 11% raise to teachers, and they're using the ESSER funds. They're going to have to cut staff. That's the only way that they can sustain that salary, and not even another raise, but they're going to have to cut staff. They're going to lose teachers. That's the only way. 80% of our budget goes to teachers. And yes, right now what is going on with the Texas legislature and elected officials is not very friendly towards public education. We feel that that's going to be a very challenging year for everyone because they're wanting to take the public school money and follow the student, whether it's a charter school they attend, a private school, and that money that we're supposed to get goes to a private school. And there's big issues with that because they're selective in what students they take. You know, if there's a discipline problem, they're not going to want that student. And so there's many issues that we're going to be facing, but I want everyone to understand, especially the new board members, that you know it's going to be a very challenging year this coming 2 years. With that being said, we'll take a pause so Dr. Rios can talk to the council.
Can we go through the rest of the hearing?
Yeah,
And then I'll call, because we still have the other two budgets, so they're very quick.
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to continue with the debt service budget. The debt service fund, also called the interest and sinking fund, is a governmental fund that is used to account for the accumulation of property tax revenues for the payment of long-term debt principal and interest. At this time, for the 2022-23 proposed budget, we are proposing an INS tax rate of 0.182000, which will provide total revenues of $5,185,263, with expenditures of $5,064,725, which will provide an excess of $120,538. The third budget that we are looking at this evening is the 2022-23 proposed budget for food services. We are proposing a total revenue of $7,062,265, with total expenditures of $6,702,017, with an excess of $360,248. Go with this, just with the three budgets put together, if they were adopted this evening, it would be a 2022-23 district budget of the general fund, food service, and debt service. Total revenues of $107,362,048, with expenditures of $114,271,536. That concludes the public hearing portion.
Questions from board members? No questions.
Mr. Mesa.
I'll open it for comments. This is a hearing on again, the budget. So we're open to public comments. On the budget. Ms. Fuentes?
Well, just a couple of things that was, I'm Sandra Fuentes, a co-chair with the board organization. Just a couple of things that just jumped out at me as I was hearing all school board members speak. It's very disheartening to hear that some campuses leave money on the table. I don't understand that. So the first thought that jumped into my head, well, if they're leaving that much money on the table, why don't they just give it to hourly wage earners? Number two, I also heard that the powers that be that run our state, and I understand this to be true, I agree, are not going to be funding our school districts the way they used to be. And they haven't been for many, many years. My question is, what are we doing as a community, as a school district? Working with county, perhaps working with city, to speak with one voice up there at the state capitol. Maybe we'll get nowhere, but at least we're being proactive. Number three, I wanted to clarify something that Dr. Rios, I wanted clarification rather, we wanted clarification. Something Dr. Rios said, and if at all possible, if it could be said in Spanish, Did we understand you, Dr. Rios, to say that hourly wage earners would be getting $3 an hour increase?
You wanted me to say it in Spanish?
Please.
Buenas tardes. Dos puntos. Uno, alguien o dos personas comentaron que el aumento sería de 1.5%. Y cuando lo platicábamos con la mesa directiva, les expliqué que, bueno, no les pude explicar, simplemente no sé de dónde salió eso, porque lo que habíamos acordado era que el aumento que recibieran todos los demás, los trabajadores que trabajan por hora, se les daría el 1.5% arriba de lo que la mesa directiva hubiera escogido. Entonces, si todos reciben 3%, bueno, todos los que trabajan por hora recibirían el 3% más el 1.5%, que sería 4.5%. Eso lo hemos estado platicando y exponiendo al público desde cuando empezamos las audiencias del presupuesto. Entonces no sé de dónde salió eso. Bueno, pero no le hace, ya queda aclarado, ¿verdad? Okay. Entonces, cuando estábamos proponiendo el salario, miembros de la mesa directiva pidieron que hubiera otra opción, que se les pagara $15 la hora mínimo. Eso indica que si, vamos a suponer que si una persona entra como bus monitor, va a entrar ganando $15 la hora. Ese es el salario mínimo. Entonces a los demás se les ajusta, si ya están ganando $15 la hora, bueno, se les ajusta entre más o menos $19 y $20 la hora, ¿verdad? Va a ser, bueno, entonces lo que nosotros expusimos, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué lo expusimos? Pues porque no hay suficiente dinero que se hiciera en 2 años. En vez de pagar $15 la mínimo, que se hiciera a $13.50 o $13.25, como depende de cómo quede, y que el siguiente año se les dé el resto. Entonces ya no estamos hablando de 3% y 1.5%, estamos hablando de un salario por hora y qué sería el costo. Entonces sería más o menos $13.25, $13.50 la hora, la base, lo mínimo. Entonces muchos empleados sí recibirían un aumento de $3 la hora, otros recibirían un aumento de $2.50, pero a fin de cuentas a todos se les ajusta en este año y el que sigue. ¿Sí me expliqué algo?
Sí.
¿Está bien, verdad?
Sí, no, está bien.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments from the public? We'll adjourn the hearing and we'll have a pause and then we'll continue with our regular meeting. Dr. Rios?
Now, Mr. Mesa, the next part of the meeting is all reports, so just in the interest of time, if you want to continue with the reports, then I'll just come back and
Okay, that's fine.
just in the interest of time, that way, and I'll ask the attorney that, okay?
Okay, that's fine. We'll continue with reports then. We have adjourned the hearing, public hearing, and
Thank you.
we're starting our regular meeting. So we're on item 8, reports. First item that we have is facilities and construction update. Israel Carrera.
Good evening, Board President Mesa, members of the board. I'd like to give you an update on our projects, of the following projects that we have. First is the Delaware Freshman Life Skills renovation, the Sanisa Hills Elementary, the Buena Vista parking lot, and the roofing contracts. Starting with the Life Skills renovation, we'll talk about the exterior. At the exterior, we're about 95% complete. We have, the interior doors have been installed and they are complete also. As far as the interior, we've had inspection for electrical rough-ins. They are complete. The plumbing top-out is complete. The insulation is complete, and we started hanging sheetrock. For the Ceniza Hills Elementary, we're about 95% complete on the steel joist. As far as the exterior framing, we have started that, and we're about 85% complete. We will start setting roof decking this week, and then we will hopefully start the interior framing next week. For the Buena Vista parking lot, we've started the demo. We started about 2 weeks ago when we started demoing. We're hoping by the end of the week that we will start the subgrade towards the end of this week. As far as the roofing projects, the non-TPO roofing projects, they are all complete except our tile roofing at SPC and San Felipe Memorial Middle School. For the TPO roofing projects, we are 100% complete. Any questions?
Israel, I know the work is ongoing at Buena Vista. Any complaints? I see the large trucks hauling dirt out of there. Have we had any, because they're taking the route going, they're going up. It's a one-way street now, which, you know, they're having to go through the residential area and then crossing into Kingsway. So there's maybe 2 blocks of residential area. Have there been any complaints? Because usually, I mean, they haul cement and rocks. I've seen those trucks.
No, sir, we haven't received any complaints from anybody.
Okay. I just wonder if we need to do what we did with the new construction at the Ceniza Hills, which the sweepers.
Yes, sir. If we do, we'll definitely look into it.
Anyone else? Thank you for the report.
Yeah, and also I just wanted to say for the work orders, we started a new system, a new program, so we'll start back up in August because we're using a new program to do our work orders, so we'll start back that up in August. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next report that we have is food service update. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa and members of the board. This evening, we have with us Mr. Javier Romero, Brenda Iglesias, and Laura Gonzalez with SFE Food Service. They are our current food service management company, and they just have a recap of the year that they would like to provide to you.
Good evening, Board President, Superintendent, and board members. Okay, we're gonna go off our first slide. So this year we started off with the national supply issues coming from short drivers, short staff, food pricings on the rise. Apart from having supply shortages, we were still able to have some fun with the kids. We provided food markets where the kids were able to eat different kinds of fruits. In November, we are also able to host the Thanksgiving meal for all the kids. We served over 10,000 meals. We also came in and did the City Health Fair. We offered healthy smoothies to kids and parents that attended. At Cardwell, we were also able to offer banana splits for breakfast. We used a low-fat yogurt instead of ice cream. We were also able to host the employee health fair for the school district and serve tomato and goat cheese pasta over a marinated pork. Last year, we were unable to do the roving chef demonstrations for the kids. This year, we tried to do as many as possible to ensure that they continue eating healthy. This year, we did something different with the staff. We played line decorating contest. We celebrated from October Breast Cancer Month, Christmas in Wonderland, and Cinco de Mayo. This year, we also brought back the taste testing. We offered different kinds of foods for the menus and asked the kids to score if they liked them.
So these are a couple of promotions that we did during the school year. This encourages our students to eat healthy and drives student participation in our cafeterias. And every school participated in our school promotions, in our cafeteria and monthly promotions too.
This year, we participated with the fruit lunch programs, and we increased our lunch participation by 29.6%, according to our records from April 2021 to April 2020. For the past 5 years, we have been awarded grants to help our school districts. This year's grants went to the freshmen for a $57,000. We will be receiving a new line and milk coolers for them. Last year's grant went to North Heights. As you can see here, the ladies have a new line. And this is all our food service staff. We look forward to another great year with them.
Any questions?
Board members? Mr. Orfeld?
Thank you for running operations and all that. We appreciate it. Thank you all for feeding and taking care of our kids.
Thank you.
Yes, and I also wanted to take the time to say, and all these, even though we had a lot of challenges this year with staffing, I know the high school was running the free program as well. There was a lot of food shortages, and our staff still stepped up to the plate, did a great job, you know, and I know they've been working hard all year. We're going to continue working with them to ensure that we have a good year as well next year. Thank you.
Thank you. I think to me the biggest thing that stands out is the increase in participation for lunch, 29%. It's substantial. Thank you again. We enjoy all the food that whenever we visit the campus. These have been challenging years, but in the past, I see the excitement that is generated by the environment that is more conducive to, you know, those type of celebration things that they have in the classroom, in the cafeterias rather. Nice appearance, very decorated, and especially during special events. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next report that we have is STAR, end of course results. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Tonight's presentation is on the STAR 3rd through 8th grade accountability results, along with our end of course, which is our Algebra 1, English 1 at 8th grade, all the way through 11th grade U.S. History. You should all have a legal size document on your guys, because it's going to be very small on the screen. We will be reviewing our elementary. We will give you a 3-year history tonight. a historical history along with our current STAR scores for the 2022 school year or assessment. And we also compare on all of the reports, we're going to give you a comparison of 2019 scores to 2022. And the reason is that in 2019, that was the last time that schools were the way they were, from day one to STAR to the end of the school year. Then, of course, in 2020, we weren't testing. We didn't have accountability. Last year in 2021, we were still teaching remote. Some kids were coming back. So this year was kind of our 2019 school year, if we can even say that. So the first report to go through is our 3rd through 5th grade, reading and math in 3rd and 4th, along with science in 5th grade. Just to explain the document, you're going to see, we're going to start with 3rd grade, which is the first template. You will see the 2019 scores, then we jump to 2021 scores, and then the next column are the 2022 scores. If you look closely, we're comparing last year to this year, as we do every year when we bring the report, but you'll see a red circle identifying the math, and then it compares, that would be in 2021, and then you would come over to the right side and find the red circle that would correlate with the math for this year. So red to red, and then you have a blue to blue. Does everybody see that? Okay. So in 2021, you'll see the red scores all, and that's at the approaches level. Next to that, on the left of that column, you have the number of students who actually took the test. So if I'm looking across the top at Buena Vista, there's 119 with a 59% passing rate. If I want to correlate, that was last year, to this year, I jump over, they had 136 students and a 68% passing rate. So that's the same way that all the reporting is done. And if you look closely, you will see that in math, which is the first column, 100% of the elementary campuses had an increase from last year. So from a 59 to 68, for instance, at Buena Vista, from a 24 to a 52 at Calderon, a 42 to 65 at Lonnie Green, a 49 to 78 at Garfield, 36 to 49 at Lamar, a 48 to 73 at North Heights, an 88 to 100% at RBB. Ruben Chavita stayed the same at a 43% both years, but you will see that the district average has increased from a 45 to 63. So individually, you have the scores for the campuses for 3rd grade, but then holistically, we do have to hit our House Bill 3 goals. You'll see the district score. You'll see the same thing for 3rd grade reading. In the blue circle, you'll see the 65, 50, 57 going down the column. Then you see the reading where it's circled again in blue, and you'll see the correlation. From a 67 to a 75, a 50 to a 73, a 57 to a 68 at Lonnie Green, a 78 to an 80 at Garfield, a 49 to a 68 at Lamar, a 73 to an 83 at North Heights, 100 to 100, stayed the same at RBB, and Ruben Chavita from a 43 to a 53, and the district, it did increase from a 63 to a 72. So every grade level, and I can go through each one, but I did want to just show how the template is organized for easier reading. You'll see that in 3rd grade math, everybody increased with the exception of Chavita that maintained, and in 3rd grade reading, everybody increased with the exception of Chavita, who went down 4 points. 4th grade, same concept. You'll see that all the campuses increased. From 2021 to 2022, they are all in green. On the right side, the actual percentage of the increase is shown. For instance, Buena Vista had a 29% increase. Calderon had a 38% increase. Lonnie Green had a 29%. Garfield a 40. Lamar 17. North Heights a 21. Ruben Chavita a 42, and the district as a whole for fourth grade, a 27% increase from last year to this year. We do show there that RBB did drop 8 points. They also had 2 less students to test. Continuing on, you'll see the 2021 fifth grade to 2022 fifth grade. All math with the exception of RBB from an 89 to an 83. Reading with the exception of RBB from an 100 to an 89. And in science, everybody except Calderon, who dropped 1 point, and RBB, who did drop 16 points, showed an increase. So when we look at last year's scores to this year's scores, you do see a lot of green. The campuses, the teachers, the focus, the students, the parents, we do see some big increases. Do we have work to do? Absolutely. But to see everybody in green making the gains is just a true testament as to the work that was done, and still what some consider a very unprecedented year. On the next template, because we are wanting we know the children really haven't been in school for 2 years. We are wanting to compare what did 2019 look like? What did it appear like? What did our scores reflect pre-COVID, before anybody had even heard that word? So you do show, again, red arrow to red arrow and blue arrow to blue arrow. Just trying to make it simple, and still it's a lot of data. You will see that in the blue columns, that is our 2019 scores for third grade math and reading. And in the tan area, those are our 2022 scores. We have 3 campuses in green, which showed increases, which are Garfield, North Heights, and RBB. But we also have 2 campuses who maybe didn't show the increase, but they were within 3 percentage points. So very close to the mark. That was in math. In third grade reading, you'll see most of the campuses, except for 2 campuses, Lonnie Green and Lamar, who did not make an increase from 2019 to now, and those are only 1 and 2 percentage points away. Looking down at fourth grade, math and reading, you'll see again, everybody's in green with the exception of Lamar and North Heights. Lamar was within 4 points. And in reading, all the campuses with the exception of Garfield, Lonnie Green, and RBB. Again, right next to the column is the number of percentages. It's very interesting to also note the number of students who tested. In some areas, it was 10 students, but in some grade levels, it was a large number of differences. For instance, Calderon in 2019 tested 111 students, but only had 78 this year. So if a student did miss, it is going to affect the scores a little more. In fifth grade, same concept. You're going to see math, the blue area with the tan area. We did not show any increases in fifth grade math. We're still pending the state and the region scores to kind of compare to see, was it something we just missed? Is it our curriculum? Or was this seen across the state? Was the assessment, we just have to analyze it. We have to figure it out. Because when you look at reading, they made gains at every school with the exception of RBB. And again, they had fewer students. Now in science, we do need to congratulate our Lonnie Green, who did have an increase of a showing of 64%, while everybody else was struggling. Even though it might have been 1%, they still didn't meet the increase. We follow the same format for 6th and 7th grade. This is a 3-year historical. If you look at 2021 and 2022, you're going to see that In 2021, sixth grade had a 61%, and they increased 15 percentage points to a 76 in math. In 2021, they had a 51%, increased to 66% in reading. Both contents had a 15% increase. At seventh grade, in 2021, they had a 42% passing and increased to a 52%, which is 10 percentage points. And in reading, from a 64 to a 72, 8 percentage points. Our eighth grade three-year historical, this one has more assessments, so you have to read it down. So the middle column here that I'm touching with the cursor would be the 2021 scores, but I did try to correlate it with an arrow. So you will see that in 2021, our seventh grade math was a 41%, and this year they went up 27 percentage points to a 68. Eighth grade reading had a 65% passing rate in 2021 last year to a 71 this year. Blended Academy had a 36%, 36%, went up 20 points to a 56, and the district went from a 62 to a 70. In science, eighth graders had a 53%, and this year it's a 60% with a 7-point increase. And in social studies, they went from a 47% last year to a 53%, which is a 6% increase. If we continue with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we look at the 2019 pre-COVID to the 2022 comparison, you'll see that at San Felipe Memorial, they had an 84% in math, and they did drop 8 percentage points to a 76. In reading, they maintained. They had a 66% in 2019 and have a 66% passing rate this year. Our 7th grade had a 70% passing score in 2019. They did drop 18 points to a 52% in math. However, in reading, they went from a 68% to a 72%. And then our 8th grade across the board is at the bottom. You'll see math was a 63, and it increased 5 percentage points to 68 from 2019 to now. You'll see that reading was at a 61, it increased to a 71. You'll also see Blended Academy increase from a 25% to a 56%. In science, we did drop 7 points from 2019 to today, from a 67 to a 60, and in social studies, 1 percentage point. Our English 1 and our English 2 also showed some gains. You'll see Delrail Middle School, while in 2021, they had a 99%. This year they had a 97, so it's not in green, but it's very tough to stay at those high 99 and 97 percentage points. And I'm in this column in case you're needing to follow along. At Delrail High School, we had a 53% last year to a 51% this year, a minus 2% drop. We did split the 9th grade just for the reporting category, not for the accountability, but just so that in case you're interested in seeing the scores. Freshmen tested 405 students with a 61% last year, and 402 students this year with a 63% passing rate. You'll see Delrail High School retesters passed at an increase of a 23 to 25%. Early College High School from a 67 to an 87. And the district stayed the same at 64. Below it is our English 2 end of course. Again, same concept. Delrail High School, 64 to 74 with a 10% gain. 9th grade, a 98 to a 98. Very high percentage rate of passing for English 2. 10th through 11th, 12th, from a 55 to a 67, which is a 12% gain. Early college, 91 to 95. That should be in green. and blended from a 31, they did drop 12 points. The district, however, did increase 8 percentage points from 67 to 75%. The next three are also end-of-course exams. They do include 8th grade Algebra 1 and 9th grade on up Biology and U.S. History. You'll see again the 2021 to 2022, and you'll see that Delro High School, freshmen, and retesters, and early college high school, along with the district, all had a high increase. 13 points, 14 points, 41 points at Delro High School retesters, 26 points at early college, and for the district, 9%. In biology, again, Delro High School had an increase, along with early college high school and blended academy, who went from a 53 to a 71% for 16-point gain. The district increased from a 75 to a 79 average. And in U.S. history, our Delro High School had an 82% last year, upped it to an 87% passing rate. Early college high school from a 93 to a 97%, and the district went from an 83 to an 88%. Those are the 5 end-of-course exams that are tracked. Now, in 2019, in September of 2019, there was a new House Bill, House Bill 3, and we presented it to the board. And if you remember, at that time, we were asked to make 5-year goals for 3rd grade reading, 3rd grade math, and also that we needed to start tracking and increasing our CCMR. Our CCMR are the students, the graduates who are college ready. They're CCMR, right? Career, college, or military ready. So that's what House Bill 3 was asking us to track. So you'll see here the circles in red up at the top. That was year 1. That was our baseline. This is what we had on our star at that time. So the district had a 31. Buena Vista had a 37, Lonnie Green a 36, North Heights a 35, Garfield a 22, Lamar a 30, Chavita an 18, Galadona 23, and RBB a 75. That was our baseline. Those are the scores that had come in the prior year. Then in 2020, you'll see here that, well, no, let me step back. So you'll see here it's a 5-year goal. So for instance, the district said we need to, at a minimum, get to a 62% in the meets category. And I think that's a real important point. It's in the meets category. This is no longer talking approaches. This is the second category. So in order for us to do that, the campuses had to set their 5-year goals. They couldn't all be the same because the starting point was so different. You had one school starting at 37 and another school starting at a 23. But collectively, we did the formulas. They came up with 5-year plans, and if everybody would hit their mark, then the district would hit the 62% minimum. That, again, is the law. So you'll see here that, for instance, the district said, all right, 31% was our starting point. We didn't have any accountability in 2020. Our goal for 2021 was 36%, and our goal for 2022 was 43%, and so on. I'm only going to stop at the yellow line. So you'll see that, for instance, Buena Vista, who started at 37%, set a goal last year of 39% 3rd graders in the meets category for reading. Only imagine 3rd graders and only imagine reading, and they said 39% of our students last year would meet, and they made it. You'll see them in green. If you'll continue on, though, nobody else made their goal last year in 2021. So you'll see in red on the column where it says 2021 met, you'll see everybody, including the district, did not meet it, and that's the percentage points that they actually made. So while Lonnie Green was striving for 40%, they came in at a 24. While North Heights was striving for a 50%, they came in at a 33. Then you go on to the end of the line and you will see RBB. They set a goal of 80% and they exceeded it with an 82. So that was last year. They have goals all the way through 2025. So for this year, this light in the white column above the yellow line, that was their goal for year 3. So again, the district came in and said, we need to be at 43. Buena Vista said, we need a 42, third grade reading. This is only third grade reading, and so on. Lonnie Green at a 45, North Heights at a 50, and so on. The yellow line are our 2022 actual results. So when you look here, you're going to see that, well, first, everything in red means that we did not meet our goal. So they did not come in, and for instance, Lonnie Green said we're going to reach a 45%. They came in at a 41%. So they didn't meet their goal. And North Heights said we need a 56, and they came in with a 41%. And Lamar said we need a 42, and they came in with a 31%. So that's what these scores are here. But what's very interesting and actually very positive is when you start looking at where they started, apologize for that, where they started up here at the top and where they are today, with the 2 years of, I don't know what to call it anymore, one of COVID and one of remorse. So when you look at where they started, 37%, and Buena Vista's at a 42. Lonnie Green, 36%, they're at a 45. They started at 35 at North Heights, and they're at a 56. Garfield started at 22, and they're at a 36. Lamar started at a 30, and they're at a 42. Chavita started at an 18, and they're at a 45%. Galadon started at 23, they're at a 37%. And RBB started at 75, and they're at an 84%. So when you look at it in that comparison, every elementary campus is exceeding or making great gains that we're very confident we're going to really close the gap for next year. That's in reading.
Mr. Mesa, can I make just a point? For those of y'all that attended the last training session, which was all of us that were there, at this weekend's workshop, this is what they were indicating or mentioning was a strong indicator that if this continues, they're predicted to make a B or a C in a rigorous college course. So these gains are significant.
I want to interject something here. That's a 60 by 30 that they mentioned, House Bill 3.
Yes.
So I'm glad that we're looking at the meets because that's
correct.
You know, we're really encouraging for them to meet grade level, not approaches.
Correct. So the accountability system rates us on the approaches, but embeds these, but House Bill 3 is only the meets. They, you know, it's like, yay, you did great, but we're only focusing on the meets. And that's why these 5-year goals had to be planned for 5 years. It cannot be a 1-year goal. We have the same report on the next sheet. It's for 3rd grade math. I can go through it. But again, at the very top, that was our baseline, big red circles. Then you'll see that everything was in red for 2021 in math. None of our campuses met the projected goal. Then for 2022, you see this little teal color, and that was the goal for this year. And below it, you see a lot of red, a little bit of green. It's not as favorable as our reading 3rd grade. You will see that we did struggle in some areas in math. The district maintained from a 32 to a 32. It didn't affect us good or bad, but some campuses had a 12-point drop, for instance, of 44 starting at Buena Vista to a 32, they dropped. Lonnie Green had a starting point of 36 to 38. They increased by 2. North Heights had a baseline of 25%, and they're up to 38% for plus 13. Garfield started at 34%. They're up to 47%. Lamar started at 30%. They have dropped 13 points. Chavira started at 24%. They have dropped to a 22%, which is 2 points. Calderon started at 15%. They're up to 21% for a positive 6. And RBB, who started at 75, is up to an 85 for 10 points. So we will continue to track House Bill 3 and report to you as required. And then finally, the last part of House Bill 3 is our college and career readiness. So while we know that we have a lot of students doing a lot of great things at Del Rio High School, at CTE, what we are finding out, because we're starting to track, is that some students do a lot of activities and other students aren't doing any. So now we started monitoring it last year. So if I look at this, this is a year behind. So CCMR is always lagging because our students just graduated, so they don't take this data into account until next year's accountability. So when we look at it, you'll see that in 2020, the goal was we had a 74% CCMR rate. That means 74% of our graduates were earning one of these criteria and they were considered college ready. And our 5-year goal was to increase it to a 92. In order to do that, we had to have pretty nice jumps along the way. In 2020, we had a 74, and we actually came in at 67, so we were short of the goal. Just recently, a few weeks ago, we did, I believe in March, we got the update for 2021. Our goal was a 77. And our actual results came in at a 64. Now, I'm very confident when I say that next year we're going to see a big jump. And the reason is that when we started tracking it, this year alone, we had 150 students who took an on-ramps course through UT Austin. At the bottom, you'll see the criteria. If I'm successful in one UT on-ramps course, because our teachers facilitate it, they don't actually administer, it all goes through UT, they're going to get credit. So that's already 150 that we identified last year who said, you don't have any CCMR credit as a junior, so their senior year they took it. We had another 125 students who did not take the course, they took a prep math and a prep reading. So we're very confident that our numbers are going to spike for next year just because of the attention that's been put. And the counselors at the high school, along with their principal and admin, are very focused on tracking students to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to be college ready on their transcript. And that does end the report for accountability.
I'll open it up for questions from the board members. Mr. Orfeld?
On the CCMR,
Yes, sir.
those numbers, the percent earned, is a lot of that either UT and ECHS and the dual credit Angelo driving that?
Correct. Mr. Orfeld, if we look here at the very bottom, these indicators, you're going to see that the associate's degree, number 2, the industry-based certification, number 3. We aren't currently tracking military. The on-ramps, except for Lauren Cardenas's pre-calculus, that was the only on-ramps we had at that time. We're going to have more next year. And that level 1, we don't have level 2 certificates, so just the level 1s. TSI criteria, if you pass math and reading, and then, of course, dual credit courses. If you have 3 hours in ELA or math or 9 hours across other contents, you can get the CCMR. But those indicators would be the top ones, which do come from early college, CTE, and then the AP courses at the high school.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to remind the board that we do develop strategic goals for our superintendent later on, so we can set a goal for meets for the STAR tests that's attainable and that's reasonable. Anyone else for the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, for the privilege of our new board members that, it's attendance is so crucial because of not just funding, but the instruction that goes on. And so we lost a lot of instruction with COVID during these past 2 years, and we hope that we can get to where we need to be above the 90% on attendance so that they can receive the instruction as well as help out our funding. Next item that we have are reports, and item D, presentation of the 2022-2026 strategic plan. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. I am honored and pleased to announce that we have completed our strategic plan, and I'm equally excited to present to you. We do have members of the audience who are members of the Strategic Planning Committee who have joined us this evening for this presentation. And you have in your, you have been given a spiral bound this past weekend, but we promise we're not going to read the spiral bound version. We're going to do a presentation which summarizes the work of this committee. If you recall, this is the second time that the school district has participated in the strategic planning process. The first time, the school district worked on foundation programs such as the bilingual academies, and they worked on marquee programs such as the redesigning of the high school concept, which gave rise to early college high school. We have the blended academy. We have the CTE program. So all of that was the work from the very first strategic planning process in the steering committee. And that plan was a 5-year plan. Well, here we are a little over 5 years, about 7 years to be exact, and we are ready to regroup and present a brand new plan. Strategic planning is a process that engages stakeholders, such as parents, students, our community, city officials, business partners, and they collectively come together to shape the future of the school district. Through this process, the district and the community become partners. They work together in creating a 5-year plan. And this sense of ownership enables the districts to overcome those obstacles and discover new possibilities for students. So this is the process. Just to kind of give you a recap, this has been a 2-month, maybe a little bit over 2-month process. And this is what has happened during the course of this time. We started with a parent survey for our families. And 950 parents participated in this survey, and they gave us some information about how we're doing in our school district. What are some things that we're doing well? What are some things that we need to change? And we looked at that information, and we also came together in 3 different community meetings across the community, across the district. And in that community, we had another 150 people come in, teachers and parents, and come together at 3 different locations to dialogue, talk about some of the things that we're doing well, pitching some ideas as how do you see us in the next 5 years? We brought that information together with our district leaders and campus leaders. We met. We analyzed data, we took that information, and we created some focus areas because there are some things that just came out, that just sparkled, that just resonated across the community. And those we will, I'll refer to them as focus areas a little bit later in our strategic plan. Our steering committee, which you appointed, came together and created beliefs, vision, and the mission of the district. They came together in common ground, and they put together a unified, wonderful plan of beliefs, a set of beliefs, vision, and the mission. And they also established goals for our district and the goals that we will address in our strategic plan. What happened after that was there were some action planning team meetings. This is where now that information was brought forward to our action planning committee. This is our administrators, district, and campus staff. They came back and took that information, and again, they worked together so that they could create some action steps to be able to help bring this plan into action. And what they do is they move the district from where we are now to where we want to be in 5 years in this vision. Then we brought both teams together. We brought the steering committee and the action plan team together, and they came together, and together they once again took a look at the draft. They came together to then refine the plan, which is the plan that you see here today. This is a 5-year district plan. This 5-year plan is a living document. This is a document which we will work towards, we will review on an annual basis, and also during different progress points. We will look at different staggered dates so that we can monitor how we're doing. We'll take the progress on how those goals are coming along, how those strategies are coming along, and the actions that are being done in this plan. As I mentioned earlier, we will be reviewing this annually so that we can make adjustments. Remember, it is a living, breathing document. I want to take just a brief second just to congratulate all the participants coming from families who, whether they turned in a survey and they gave their input to the people that came together at those community meetings, and then the steering committee and the action planning team members. So who are they? Well, we brought in community members that got to meet with us. We brought this group and just condensed it. We had elementary teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers. We had teachers and students also who participated, and we'll be introducing a couple of them here tonight. We also included members of the district planning team because we wanted this plan to be aligned all the way around. So we had DPDM committee members, and then of course we did have our administrative team and our principals as well. So at this point, I'm going to invite one of our steering committee members, one of our parents, and if I could have Mr. Guerra please step forward, and he's going to introduce you to our beliefs. I'll do the presentation and you read.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay. We believe communications and collaboration among families, community, and educators are vital. In equity, by providing the resources, support, and motivation necessary to differentiate instruction. All students should be equipped with a strong foundation of knowledge, including 21st century skills, so they are lifelong learners prepared to be successful after high school.
So this is what they have all come together, and using the language, they've been able to narrow this down as one common set of beliefs. I'm going to also introduce Mr. Guerra's daughter, Larissa and Nayeli, who are students who were a tremendous asset to this team, and they're going to come in and talk to you about the vision.
San Felipe Del Rio CISD, in partnership with our families and community, empowers every student to excel through a culture of collaboration, innovation, and achievement.
You see that one of the words that resonated there was the fact that the belief in our vision is to continue working in collaboration with families and in our community. So that resonated pretty much throughout the whole document. And they believe that they want every student to excel. And so I think that all of us have come to that common vision that that is where we want to go. I'm going to, thank you, ladies.
Hey,
I'm going
Mr.
to.
Mesa, I'm sorry, Sandra, sorry, can I interrupt?
Sure, go ahead.
These are students that spent some time with us, and this probably, they're gonna move on, so can we just ask them just to tell us what they did in high school and where they're going? Just because we're not gonna get, until they graduate and come back and work for the district, we just don't know what they're gonna do.
Right? Okay, I'll let you go first. Oh, there we go.
Hi, my name is Larissa Guerra. I will be attending the University of Incarnate Word. I will be majoring in mathematics with a concentration in engineering physics. So, yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
Hi, I am currently going into my senior year, and I don't know what college I'm going to yet, but I do plan on majoring in education.
Great,
Thank y'all for your time.
Congratulations.
thank you.
I want to thank them for their participation because their message and their voice was invaluable. I'd like to invite Ms. Pond to come forward, and she's going to share our mission as our district's mission.
San Felipe Del Rio provides a high-quality, innovative curriculum with engaging, relevant instruction. We meet the individual needs of students and staff in a safe, nurturing, and collaborative environment which encourages development and growth.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And she represents a great team of collaborators, of principals, administrators have done a fantastic job. So from here, all this information that they received brought us to 4 important points, which we call strands. These are the areas of focus. This is where everyone together said we needed to look at focused leadership, we needed to look at highly effective instruction, we needed to look at innovation, and then we need to look at strategic staffing. So what does that mean? What are our goals? For focused leadership, by 2027, 100% of campus and district leaders will effectively support and communicate high expectations for student learning. We want all our kids to learn and have high expectations. Highly effective instruction. By 2027, 100% of our SFDR CISD students will meet or exceed grade level standards. By 2027, for innovation, San Felipe Del Rio CISD will offer well-established innovative programs to 100% of our students, not just a few, but all of our students. And for strategic staffing, whoops, I jumped too far. For strategic staffing, by 2027, San Felipe Del Rio CISD will recruit, develop, and retain 100% of highly effective staff. So these are the 4 strands, the 4 concentrated areas that our plan focuses on. At this point, I'm going to invite 4 of our members of the steering committee. Mr. Jorge Jurado will talk a little bit more about those strategies and actions that their group talked about. How will we accomplish this? Mr. Jesse Davila will be representing highly effective instruction. Ms. Dolimer Gonzalez will be talking to you about innovation. And Mrs. Allison Mercier will be talking to you about strategic staffing.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. It was a privilege to participate with the Focus Leadership Strand. I want to thank everybody that participated in that strand and is in attendance or not in attendance today. They did a great job. So our goal was by 2027, 100% of campus and district leaders will effectively support and communicate high expectations for student learning. So we created 2 strategies that will help us over the next 5 years hopefully get to this goal. So strategy 1 is that the district will implement a district-wide system of professional learning to develop effective instructional leaders. So the big why behind this strategy is what we really want to do is cultivate a culture of growth. We want to have that growth mindset as leaders. It has to go from the top down. So this strategy, of course, focuses on the instructional leadership. Let's look at the actions. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to form a leadership development committee. So the idea is, how do we build effective, well-rounded instructional leaders? And that goes for campus principals, but it also extends to assistant principals, dean of instructions, and on the campus level to the department and cluster leaders. So we have several actions that hopefully in 5 years we can create a framework that would research and try to identify best practices for campus leadership. So the idea is that the campus principals would receive training throughout the year, and it's really based on what best practices are out there, not only general best practices for leadership, but also really looking to try to identify best practices, instructional practices for our demographics. What's out there that can improve our skill set? And then another goal is for us as campus leaders to have a common language, having common knowledge on our data, how we read reports, which reports we read, and then also trickling down that common language from us down to the classroom, right? So we would form the committee, we would research our skills, we would create that framework. Once we would be complete with that first year, within the next year, of course, we assess it, but then we include our assistant principals and our dean instructions. So then we repeat that cycle, go throughout the year, do our post-assessments. The following year, we expand that to our classroom department heads and our cluster leaders. So hopefully, as every year goes by, we continue expanding our support for our instructional leadership, and then not only can we have a common language and go to strategies on a campus, but ideally we would like to be able to say we lead in a similar way across the district. So we're always in tune with the vision and mission and how we get there. So that's the strategy, the first strategy. The second strategy is that the district will create a district-wide system for ongoing communication to inform families and the community of opportunities and expectations for students. Simply put, that we need to improve the way we engage our parents and our community with communication, and then also just with general engagement. We would form a family and community engagement committee the first year in the summer. This committee would be tasked with creating surveys, researching what are our current channels of communication, what do our parents prefer, from school to school, from grade levels. We want to see vertically and horizontally what does the data show that parents prefer? How can we increase our communication with the parents? We would also seek out feedback from our community members. We want to be able to propose a district-wide communication policy, at one point be a uniform form of communication. So what's out there? How can we get to a common ground where we have one type of communication that benefits all stakeholders? And then, of course, we would schedule and host family engagement events. I know in the past couple of years, it's almost seemed like we've been a little isolated due to safety and the pandemic, but we're really looking forward to being able to build that parent, and not only the parent, but the community engagement. So when we talk about together we're better, the community knowing that parents and the community are a part of that statement, and we can begin opening the doors again and inviting parents and sharing information on academics, but not only academics, on just general parent engagement strategies, just to improve our overall effectiveness with that category. So that takes care of strategy 2. Thank you, and Mr. Davila is next.
Good evening, I'm Jesse Davila. I'll be presenting on highly effective instruction. So when we started, obviously we went over the goals, but our goal for highly effective instruction was that 100% of our students would be at meeting or exceeding grade level standards. And we came to that goal because our vision said that we believe all students should have the ability to excel. So we couldn't set the goal without saying that 100% of our students are going to succeed. So we set that goal, and we all gave ourselves a pat on the back, and we said, all right, now where do we start? And we started with the emotional and social needs of our students. Post-COVID, we saw an exacerbation of the social and emotional need, and we decided that we need to address those needs. So our first strategy is to expand the district-wide system to support the social and emotional needs of all students. So as we begin this summer, we'll be looking to establish a social and emotional support committee. These counselors and our social emotional committee will collect data at the campus level to determine the true need of our students moving forward. Next, we talked about T-Chat. We have great resources in place, and T-Chat is one of them. T-Chat is our Texas Child Health access through telemedicine. It's a partnership we have with Texas Tech in El Paso that gives our kids access to social and emotional services and highly trained psychologists to address their needs and give them support. Next, we decided to deliver our Del Rio Cares curriculum. This is a whole group curriculum that addresses the social and emotional needs of our students. It talks about our morality, it talks about a wide range of what our students experience on a daily basis. Next, we understood that the campus is kind of changed, and a safe learning environment is critical for our students. In creating a safe learning environment, we had to develop what's called a threat assessment team. This threat assessment team works effectively to understand the threats that our campus face, to understand what happens on social media and what comes into our classroom, and establish effective protocols for how to deal with that. In continuing with that threat assessment team, all staff need to be trained on the threat assessment protocol. So next we move into our second strategy, and if our first strategy addresses the needs of our student, our second strategy has to deal with, well, what is the instructional focus that we need to get our students into the success? And that's develop and implement with fidelity a district-wide system of strong data analysis practices to identify student needs, monitor growth, and ensure effectiveness of all instruction for all students. So we start by forming an instructional team. Our instructional team will meet this summer and start identifying highly effective instruction. Now, as we saw from the data from the STAR performance recently, that we're moving in the right direction. We have things that are working, so our next step is how do we build on what's effective and how do we share what's effective to all our teachers? So we started with the resources in the planning protocol dashboard. The planning protocol dashboard is a resource that teachers have in their curriculum and instruction that kind of gives them toolkits for instructional strategies to bring into their classroom and a little bit of data from their students from their most recent assessments. In our beliefs, we said that we wanted to equip our students with 21st century skills. If we're going to do that, we have to update the toolkit that our teachers have with 21st century skills as well. And that's where this step comes in. We want to train teachers in how to collect data analysis. Data-driven is the name of the game when it comes to education nowadays, and we want our teachers to be able to identify their needs of their students academically. This is where that step comes in. Next, we wanted to conduct a T-test review with the emphasis on Dimension 2.1 for administrators and teachers. This is the Achieving Expectations standard, and it's very specific why we chose strand 2.1. Achieving Expectations has to deal with our students' social emotional need as well. It's the way that we rate our teachers and the way that we give them feedback as to how they're performing and grow them. Now, 2.1 has to do, like I said, with the social emotional, and our teachers are aiming for distinguished. So some of the characteristics for distinguished teachers would be social and emotional expectations set by the students, persisting with lessons until student mastery, allowing students to self-monitor and correct mistakes, and having your students set goals. Finally, we wanted to have a way that our administrators are calibrated in their T-test practices and how we collect teacher observation data, so that way, across the board, we're analyzing our teachers in the same methods and the same methodology. So that calibration is key. We wanted to create a data protocol that's standard for teachers and how they approach data and how they analyze it and identifying their student need. And finally, we wanted to evaluate and upload exemplar videos to the Planning Protocol Hub. This gives teachers very specific examples of what effective instruction looks like. It's really powerful when our teachers are able to sit down, look at instruction, and think how they can bring that into their classrooms. Next, we'll have Ms. Dolimed Gonzalez presenting on innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Davila. Good evening, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Rios, President Mr. Mesa, and members of the board. And also, I would like the Committee of Innovation to please stand up. Thank you for being here and being part of the committee. And our goal was by 2027, SFDR CISD will offer well-established innovative programs to 100% of our students. As a committee, we came up with a strategy, and it's provide a district-wide system to foster creativity and promote the diverse learning needs of our students. As we collaborated with students, parents, teachers, and administrators, we came up with these actions. Form an innovative committee, conduct interest to surveys on innovative programs. We already have a STEM with RBB, but extend, and STEM is a science, technology, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The K through 5 dual language, which is extending the English immerse to the English speakers in a Spanish curriculum. The New Tech High, which is talking about the non-traditional project-based learning. And the P-Tech, which is innovating our teachers, those that are interested in growing to be teachers. Develop a marketing campaign to promote the district's innovative programs to all students and their family, to include information sessions. So when we talk about marketing campaign, it's inviting the community to be part of this district's innovative program and having their input in how to grow our students and their family. Conduct visits to other districts and schools to see program implementation. So visit our nearby districts and see how they are growing and what can we implement in our district as well. Research, select, and develop curriculum for innovative programs. Determine teacher selection, student application process, and hold recruitment fairs to expand and diversify student populations and participation in innovative programs. Now I'll pass with Ms. Mercier.
Hi, my name is Allison Mercier, and I'm the principal at Calderon Elementary, and I'll be speaking to you today about strategic staffing. If you are part of the strategic staffing, will you please stand up? Thank you. So for strategic staffing, we are looking at recruiting and retaining teachers. So our first strategy for strategic staffing is to develop and implement a district-wide system to recruit highly effective staff. So in order to do that, we want to establish a teacher recruitment committee. We want a group of teachers to get together and determine the needs to find teachers to add to our district. We also want to create a marketing campaign. We want to update and add to the district website that's already there. We want to add a section that people can look at. Why choose San Felipe Del Rio? Why do you want to come and work with us? And we also want to add brochures and different marketing materials in order to help at job fairs. Another thing that we want to do is create surveys. We want to survey 3 different groups of people. We want to survey our new teachers. Why did you choose to work at San Felipe Del Rio? We also want to ask the people who have left our district, why did you choose to leave? And then for those who have chosen to stay for many years, why have you chosen to stay and work at San Felipe Del Rio? We want to continue to expand on our Grow Your Own program. That program has been around for many years, but we definitely want to capitalize on that and really bring those amazing paraprofessionals that work with our students on a daily basis into the classroom as a teacher, giving them opportunities to grow, and they are very loyal, they're very dedicated, and they have years of experience. So we want to reward them for that and have a program just doing a much better job of encouraging that for them. We want to focus on high needs areas when we're recruiting teachers. We know that there's a need for bilingual teachers. We know that there's a need for special education teachers, and that will be the focus of many of our recruiting plans. In addition, we are going to expand PTAC, and we will be having a program that our high school students can participate in. When they leave at the end of the college or of the high school career, they will have a college associate's degree towards teaching. So they will be halfway to a teaching degree through our PTAC program. Our second strategy is how do we retain highly effective staff? What do we do to keep the people that we already have? The first thing is to expand our Grow Your Own program to current staff members. We have staff members that work for us now that could very easily add to their toolkit. They have expertise, they have knowledge, and they may be able to take a bilingual test and pass it, and then service our bilingual students. They may be able to get extra professional development on special education, pass that test, and then be able to service those students. In addition, we want to develop partnerships with our universities. How can we continue to grow the staff that we have? How can we grow our paraprofessionals? How can we grow the teaching staff that we have? In addition, how do we support our teacher candidates who are pending certification? We have teachers in our district that are on emergency probationary permits. How do we support them so that within the year that they're teaching with us, they finish and complete their program and become fully certified? We also want to do a better job with substitutes. If teachers have a peace of mind that they can be out for a day or two when they need to and know that there will be an excellent substitute in the room, that will really help. So what are we going to do? We are going to refine our substitute list and eventually develop a tiered system. We want to reward those substitutes that are with us regularly. We want to encourage them to attend additional professional development and really grow themselves. And hopefully, in the long run, bring to you a proposal to pay them on a tiered system based on their participation in the substitute program. We also want to continue to identify and support our struggling teachers. We will have a plan in place both at the campus level and at human resources to support teachers who just need a little bit extra support. And last but most importantly, continue to strengthen our campus culture. If our campuses are somewhere that people want to work, then they will come and they will stay. So that is our goal.
Let's give these presenters a big round of applause. And quite frankly, this has taken hours and hours of work, and you can see the ideas collectively that they have put together, just thinking about how this would work. So I want to refer you back to your spiral. This spiral breaks this down. Obviously, they cannot do all of this work in 1 year. They cannot do it in 1 summer. But it's a process. And so for the next 5 years, they have planned out what activities and what strategies they're going to implement semester after semester, year after year. And they've done this in such a wonderful process and wonderful way that they've taken a lot of thought into this product. So certainly this isn't something that the superintendent can do alone. This isn't certainly by no means that the cabinet and the superintendent can do together. This took a village, and this took the community, and this took the work of the strategic and the steering committee. So I want to thank them for their work. Later in your agenda, you do have a consent to approve the strategic plan. And so I welcome any questions that you may have.
I'll open up for questions from board members. Ms. Webb.
First of all, I want to thank all the committee members from all of the committees. I know that the Focus Leadership Committee, I don't know if they're still here or not, but on here I noticed, and I will tell you, I did go through all of this book last night. So I do look at everything that you all submit. I noticed that on the focus leadership on strategy 1 and strategy 2, we use the word form. We're going to form a committee. That committee has not been formed yet. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then on highly effective instruction, we use the word, again, form. We're going to form an SES committee. And then it also mentions campus threat team. Do we have those established? Are we going to form those? Are we going to?
We actually do, ma'am. We do have the safe and supportive schools teams that are now been implemented at every campus,
Okay.
that have just initiated their first training. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because that was mentioned on page 47, but it didn't specify if it was already established, if it was already formed, or what have you. Then on strategy 2 on page 74, it mentions the word create a committee of highly effective committee. So in some strategies, we're forming committees. In other strategies, we're creating committees. And when we go into innovation on page 121, we just have strategy. We don't have, I'm assuming it was strategy 1 because there was only one strategy in there, but it's not indicated in the book that we got. And in there, we're forming a committee. But then when we go to strategic staffing on page 147, we're going to develop a teacher recruitment committee. So in some, I guess it's all the same thing. We form, we establish, we create. It's all the same thing. But maybe as we use the book, we use one terminology so we can be consistent. You know, I mean, that's just a recommendation. I don't know what the
Sure.
district wants to do. I'm just saying to have unity so everything looks concise.
Right. So, yes, ma'am. And we will definitely take that, your recommendation into consideration. This is a living document, and so it will continue to be monitored and used to, you'll see the changes. We'll start seeing the refinement as we move forward. We may even see some changes in some of the strategies because the approach may be a little different, but certainly you will see this definitely change.
It's an ongoing document. And then I guess my last comment would be, as once we form this committee or committees, are we going to have a chairperson for each of these committees? And I would like to see a list of all of these people in these committees. Like, it would have been wonderful to have a list of everybody that helped put this together in here. We have two young ladies, the Guerra girls, as I'm going to call them, because I don't remember their names. I just remember that they belong to Mr. Guerra. You know?
Yes.
So, but it would have been nice. I know you're smiling, but hey, it comes with age. You forget names. Don't laugh, Mr. Guerra. But it would have been nice to have your names in the back or something to indicate these are the people that worked on this, because this took a lot of work to put together.
Yes, and we thank you for mentioning that. We did include that in our presentation today. We are actually going to open up a web page so that you see this document. You also see all of the members that participated in each of these committees. And as we move forward, you will see how this actions have been. How are we doing? some little progress points and updates will be on that particular webpage, and that is forthcoming. We also have a video that was produced by Region 13 that will also be placed on our website. So all of this is a work in progress. So,
But thank you to the committee, thank you to Region 13 for working with our district to put this together. But those are just some ideas to make it more unified.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. I want to say something here. To develop a great organization, you have great leaders and great people, great teachers. I want to thank everyone that served on every role. Everyone is important here. There's so many wonderful things. I hear, the empowering teachers, the data collection. Everything sounds great. The threat analysis, building the capacity of school campus leaders, and the videotaping of distinguished teachers teaching and so forth. This is going to be a valuable tool. And I want to thank every speaker that came up. I see so many potential people moving up the ladder in our organization, because that's what we want. We want to grow in every aspect of education, whether it is through, empowering people to get their degree by building your own. And then, of course, those teachers that we have to excel in attending training and being more effective in the classroom. There's so many powerful things. As Mr. Overfelt was mentioning, the interference with some of the elected officials that are state level, there's a parental bill of rights that is going to come through the next one, legislative session. And so when I hear parental events and surveys, and it's already a plus, because the parents are making decisions that are going to be helping us to develop these programs and go beyond above of what we're doing. And so it is, to me, by far the most exciting thing that I've heard. And again, I want to thank everyone that participated, from the people that we selected to teachers and coming to the podium. It is wonderful to hear everyone, including our young people here that have aspirations to go above and beyond, and perhaps later come in and work for us. So I want to open it up for the rest of the board members. Amy Haynes.
I'd just like to say thank you. I know it takes a lot of time, but the presentation was amazing. I appreciate all your hard work. The speakers were also amazing. So thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing the progress. Thank you.
Mr. Juanito?
I would also like to say thank you to all the committee members, and especially for establishing the students, establishing the parents, bringing them in. We just went to a training this past week, and one of the things that was told is, and as you mentioned, this is a living document. So as you go through and you see things that may be wrong, don't see it as a struggle, see it as an opportunity, right, to make things better. And that's one thing that I took away. Don't see everything as a bad thing, always see it as an opportunity. And the fact that we're trying to build relationships with one another inside the district and build leadership, that tells a lot about the district and the retention of teachers and trying to help struggling teachers. And it's all about building the person up next to you. And even in some sorts, you want to build the person up to be better than what you were at that point. And I think that's what it's all about. I liked how y'all mentioned that y'all wanted to get people to come and work for us. There's no reason, hopefully within this next 5 years or even in the next couple of years, why people aren't, hoping to be here and make this the district that everybody would want to work for. People are going to move out of town because they want to work for this district. People are going to want to send their kids to this district based off the goals and achievements that have been set. But it takes a lot of you to come together, and I'm sure, as we did when we were working this weekend, everybody brings things to the tables, and a lot of it's the most common things. All it took was just to put it on paper and work towards that goal of what y'all are doing. And for you to take the time out, y'all already have things stacked on your plate. For you to take the time out to add more, to see the illusion and vision of this district for the next 5 years, it's very, very positive, and it's great to see it. just wanted to make sure y'all understood how grateful it is to see this, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Olindo. Mr. Orfeld?
I'm good, sir.
Anyone else?
Just,
Mrs. Becky Luna
yes,
Chavez?
I just want to say that I'm very impressed, and I know that strategic planning takes a lot of commitment, a lot of time, a lot of work. And so I want to thank all of you that are involved in this strategic planning, and the fact that it's open for refinement, as you go along is very important. So thank you very much, and that was a very great presentation of the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Thank
I know we have an action item later on the agenda. Dr. Rios?
Mr. President, just because the committee members are here, can we move up the action item right after the next report, or maybe even after consent agenda? So that they can go in knowing that they can check it off and know that it's all done.
Is that agreeable with the board members?
Item 10E.
We're going to move up the action item on approving the strategic plan. Moving it up after the report. So we'll have that discipline report. Do we have any questions in regard to that? I think we have all the information in our booklet. Any questions? What about discipline report? Any questions on that? Okay, no questions. So we're okay. I just want to make sure that again, principals that are here, just we're going to try our best to have the funding for next year, and so help us out by going and checking the attendance and making sure that students are coming to class. If not, send the parental aide to go look for them. Next item we have. So we're going to move it up, Dr. Rios, before the consent agenda. Okay? Is that?
Before or after is perfect. Whatever you wish.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move item. It's going to be item 10E. It's under administration, consideration for the board to approve the 2022-2026 district strategic plan. Sandra Hernandez.
Yes, sir, thank you. The San Felipe Del Rio CISD engaged community stakeholders such as educational partners, business leaders, parents, students, and other members of the broader community to provide strategic direction, feedback, and guidance to the district. I'm going to read the recommendation. It is the recommendation of the district strategic planning team that the board approve the vision and mission of the district and the district's 5-year strategic plan.
Read the recommendation. There's a motion for approval by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And
Thank y'all.
thank you for your attendance, your participation. Thank you for doing a wonderful job.
Mr. Mesa?
Yes, Dr. Rich.
Before we go into the consent agenda, item F4 is a duplicate. Contents of item F4 are already included in item F1. So we can just scratch F4 from the list.
She would tell me the page number.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was page 6.
It's the Skyward one? The Skyward?
Okay. F4 on page 6 is a duplication of F1. So delete that one. Okay. Okay, we are now on the consent agenda, item 9 on the agenda. Again, one action item will approve all items on the consent agenda There are some minutes. There's purchase orders. There's other items, so if you have a question on any item, it would be good for you to ask that question and have someone clarify that information for you. If not, one action item will approve everything on the consent agenda. And while they're doing that, could the secretary please read the donations on the donation sheet that you have?
Okay, monetary donations to San Felipe Middle School in the amount of $250 are from Andrew Paredes on behalf of Juan Paredes Jr. Del Rio High School cheerleaders, $72.50 from Hillary Sandoval and Sally Favela. Del Rio High School boys and girls track, $500. Legacy event partners. The next items are monetary donations for the teacher appreciation. One from Amistad Bank in the amount of $100. Money Link Financial Services, $100. San Felipe CISD Education Foundation in the amount of $1,700. And Spot and Pro Shop, $100. Now, non-monetary donations to Del Rio High School. One Melody Graham piano in the amount of $500 from Joe Morris. And the rest are under teacher appreciation. Amistad Snack, $50 for a tote and soda snack. Another $100 from Whataburger for 5 $20 gift cards. 5 $50 gift cards from Valley Salas Photography in the amount of $250. 17 gift bags from Texas Community Bank in the amount of $340. 3 pedicure certificates and Shelkick manicures for $120 from Style Nails by Jesse. 1 holiday cup set in the amount of $25 from Starbucks. 2 $20 gift cards from Rudy's Barbecue in the amount of $40. 1 pair of ruby earrings from Robert's Jewelers in the amount of $42. 2 gift certificates from, for dozen donuts from River City Donuts in the amount of $20. 14 $10 gift cards from Raspas King in the amount of $140. 20 $10 Cripple Creek certificates, $25 gift certificates from Cripple Creek. Melinda gift certificates, 2-night stay with breakfast, and $50 Cripple Creek gift certificate in the amount of $938 from Ramada Inn. 2 facials from Perfect Polish and Spa, $75. 4 $25 gift cards from McDonald's in the amount of $100. 3 caps, 1 t-shirt, 4 bandanas, 1 dog toy, 1 water hose, and pencils and pens in the amount of $100 from McCoy. 3 gift baskets with chips and salsas from Julio Seasoning and corn chips. 4 $25 gift cards from J.S. Holmes in the amount of $100. 4 free adult buffets and dinners, and 1 10 taco box special from El Patio in the amount of $75. 19 $25 gift certificates from Lola Pistola Flores and Gift Shop from Edward Jones in the amount of $475. 17 gift bags with tumblers from the City of Del Rio, $170. 25 gift cards and 24 $5 kids meals from Chili's in the amount of $220. 7 $10 gift cards and 3 $20 gift cards from Chapa's Bakery in the amount of $130. 5 $50 gift cards from Cadena Family Practice in the amount of $250. 4 $25 gift cards from Border Federal Credit Union in the amount of $100. 2 $25 gift cards from Alessi Bazaar, $50. For Buena Vista, we have from Brown Plaza Association, 50 juices, 50 Little Debbie snacks, and 50 bags of chips. And then for Bobby Barrera Elementary, we have from Bank and Trust, gift cards for miscellaneous items in the amount of $225. From Long John Silver's, 5 Fish and Chips gift cards in the amount of $34.45. From Chili's, 12 $5 gift cards in the amount of $60. From Church's Chicken, $133.17 for 23 gift cards. From Mr. Getty's, 30 RAM cards in the amount of $300. From Burger King, 20 free Whopper cards and 30 free ice cream cards in the amount of $119.50. From Sirloin Stockade, 25 free dinners in the amount of $475. From Wash and Go Car Wash, 10 deluxe car wash cards in the amount of $90. For Yancy Fragrance to Lamar Elementary, 12 pies in the amount of $75 and 1 cake in the amount of $50. To for Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary, we have from Lozano Chase, 50 boxes of cookies, chicharrones, and candy in the amount of $125. From La Cabana Snow Cones, syrup, cups, spoons, straws, and ice in the amount of $100. From Mr. and Mrs. Overfeld, 83 snow cones in the amount of $140.27. From Janice Puente, 80 bolis in the amount of $25. To North Heights Elementary, from the North Heights Elementary PTO, cupcakes and paper goods in the amount of $137. And Express Embroidery, 3 dozen donuts in the amount of $15. From Rudy's Barbecue, 84 baked potatoes and barbecue sauce in the amount of $503.16. And Tasty Snack Bar, 80 magadanas. What is it? Mangonadas. Thank you. $319.20. And from Agua de los Cielos, 3 agua juegos or jugos in the amount of $160. And then for Blended Academy, from Leadership Del Rio Class 11, 30 tassels, 9 caps, and 14 cap and gowns in the amount of $634.30. And Palo Alto Networks, 22 shirts in the amount of $567.75 to CTE. And then from HEB to Del Rio Middle School, 130 flower bouquets in the amount of $1,950 to Del Rio Middle School.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a long list, and we take the time to read those out because, again, we're grateful for the donations that we receive from individuals and/or businesses and organizations. So we want to thank you for donating to our district, and again, for the benefit of all students and all staff. Thank you. With that being said, is there any question on consent agenda? None? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mr. Galindo, is there a second? Mr. Overfeld seconded that motion. All those in favor? Motion is approved. Again, consent agenda is approved. Go to administration. Dr. Rios, did you want to take a break?
I'm not the only one, sir.
Okay, we're gonna take let's take like a 10-minute break. Is that good enough for everyone? 15-minute break?
Yes.
10? Okay, we'll come back at 9:06.
Mr. Mesa,
Yes.
just, there's people in the audience that are waiting for items under 13, business and finance. When we return, can we do that and then do the rest of the agenda?
Sure. Move up item business and finance, which is the food service.
A, B, and C.
Okay. We'll approve those as we reconvene. We're going to take a little break. Okay, we're going to, again, reconvene, and we're going to move some items up from business and finance. First item that we have under administration is, again, under business and finance, item 13A, consideration to approve food service management company for RFP 22-06 for submittal to the Texas Department of Agriculture. Amy Childress.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. San Felipe Del Rio CISD initiated the process to contract with the Food Service Management Company in accordance with requirements set by the Texas Department of Agriculture. The process to contract with the FSMC began with TDA's approval of RFP 22-06 prepared by the district. RFP 22-06 was released on February 6, 2022, with the response date of March 28th of 2022. Southwest Food Service Excellence presented the lowest cost, and the Texas Department of Agriculture has approved the contract for award and execution to Southwest Food Service Excellence, LLC. This contract is not effective until signed by all parties and approved in writing by the Texas Department of Agriculture. The deadline to submit the contract to TDA is June 30th of 2022. The FSMC contract will be in effect for a period of 1 year, commencing on July 1st, 2022, and terminating on June 30th, 2023, and may be renewed for 4 additional terms of 1 year each upon mutual agreement between the district and the Food Service Management Company.
And again, for the courtesy of the new board members, we've had SFE. In previous years, they've done a tremendous job, and we're very grateful that they are able to secure grants to purchase equipment for our cafeterias throughout the district. Any questions from board members? It's a continuing process that we do, approving it every year. Recommendation, please.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve for the superintendent to sign the required food service management contract documents regarding RFP 22-06 and submit for final approval to the Texas Department of Agriculture.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rios, we're going to go to administration now and start from there. Again, we're following, going back to administration. We moved that item up from business and finance. We're going to take the order now that we have under our agenda. First item that we have is consideration 10A, consideration for the board president to appoint the 2022-2023 Board Policy Review Committee. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening once again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The function of the Board Policy Review Committee is to review matters related to district policies, including the review of local policies and the Texas Association of School Board numbered updates, which include legal updates and recommended changes to local policies in response to changes in state and federal law, State Board of Education rules, etc. The committee is charged with recommending any changes in the language of policy which best govern the district's operations for approval and adoption by the board. Chaired by a board member, the committee's membership includes 3 appointed school board members, superintendent and the administrative director. Superintendent's cabinet and any district-level directors may attend the meeting to serve in any capacity, an advisory capacity, when the specific policy in their area is under review. The board members that served on the 2021-2022 committee were Mr. Mesa, Mr. Overfelt, and Ms. Diana Gonzalez. And at this time, the board would recommend new members?
Yes. The Board Policy Committee is going to be consisted by myself, Diana Gonzalez, and Amy Haynes.
Yes, sir.
And I'll read the recommendation. It is the recommendation of the board president to appoint Mr. Raymond Mesa, Ms. Diana Gonzalez, and Ms. Amy Haynes to the 2022-2023 Board Policy Review Committee as presented.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mr. Overfeld, seconded by Mr. Alindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item that we have is consideration for the board president to appoint the 2022-2023 Board Finance Committee. Sandra Edmonds.
Yes, sir. The function of the Board Finance Committee is to gain in-depth understanding of the district's finances, the budgeting process, and to facilitate the efficiency of the consent agenda at called board meetings. Chaired by a board member, the committee's membership includes 3 appointed school board members, the chief financial officer, and superintendent. The superintendent, the CFO, and any member of the superintendent's cabinet may attend meetings to serve in an advisory capacity. And the term of the Finance Committee will begin this July and end in 2023. Previously serving on the 2021-22 committee were Mr. Smith, Mr. Ken Smith, Ms. Linda Guanajuato Webb, and Mr. Fred Contreras.
Okay, I will have on the Finance Committee Becky Luna Chavez, Jesus Emilio Galindo, and Linda Guanajuato Webb.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the board president to appoint Becky Luna Chavez, Jesus Emilio Galindo, and Linda Guanajuato Webb to the 2022-2023 Board Finance Committee as presented.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Motion is approved unanimously.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next item we have is item 10C, consideration for the board to appoint the 2022 TASB delegate and alternate, Sandra Edmonds.
Yes, sir. Once again, the Texas Association of School Boards, or TASB, calls upon school districts to designate delegates to serve during the 2022 TASB Delegate Assembly. Delegates play an important role in TASB's governance, helping develop the vision for the association. The school district board of trustees may appoint 1 delegate and 1 alternate to serve as representatives during the assembly. Last year, the designated 2021 delegate was Ms. Diana Gonzalez, and the alternate was Ms. Linda Guanajuato Webb. Mr. Mesa is a TASB director, and by virtue of his position, will already be participating as a voting delegate in the assembly. Therefore, he cannot be designated as a delegate or an alternate. The San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees may appoint 1 delegate and 1 alternate to serve as representatives during the assembly. This year, the 2022 TASB Delegate Assembly is scheduled to take place on September 24th, 2022 in San Antonio, Texas.
Board, I have Mr. Overfeld has volunteered to be a delegate, and Ms. Diana Gonzalez has agreed to be an alternate. Is that, any questions from the board? Is that an agreement? Okay, we'll read the recommendation.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the nomination of Mr. Overfeld, Mr. Joshua Overfeld, as the delegate, and Ms. Diana Gonzalez as the alternate for the 2022 TASB Delegate Assembly as presented.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Becky Luna Chavez and Mr. Galindo. Seconded the motion. All those in favor? Motion's approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item that we have is item 10D, consideration to approve and sign the renewal of the ground lease agreement with the United States of America by and through the Secretary of the Air Force to operate an open enrollment public educational institution, the Laughlin Elementary STEM Magnet School, in accordance with the laws of the state of Texas on federal property at Laughlin Air Force Base. Sandra Hernandez.
President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board, this year will mark the fifth year of the end of the 5-year ground lease agreement with the United States Air Force and the San Felipe Del Rio CISD. On June 19, 2017, the United States Air Force and San Felipe Del Rio CISD signed a 5-year ground lease agreement in which the leased premises would be used solely for the purposes of sitting, constructing, installation, use, maintenance, repair, and operation of an elementary school, which is known as the Laughlin Elementary STEM Magnet School. Now that the first lease is set to expire, both parties have agreed to amend and extend the lease agreement for another 5 years, beginning July 1st, 2022, and ending on May 30th, 2027. Future plans include the parties to either jointly or independently secure funding or financing for new construction, which may require an extended term, ground lease, or other terms and conditions depending on source of monies.
Question from board members? Recommendation, please.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve and authorize the superintendent to sign the amended ground lease agreement with the United States of America by and through the Secretary of the Air Force to operate an open enrollment public educational institution in accordance with the laws of the state of Texas on federal property at Laughlin Air Force Base.
For the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item we have is item 11, curriculum instruction. Consideration, oops, hold on. We already approved the strategic. Yes. Item 11A, consideration to approve submission of application for the 2022-2023 elementary and secondary school ESSA consolidated federal e-grant application for federal funding to the appropriate headquarter authority as presented. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This is a recurring item that comes up each year. The district has received their federal funding amounts, and with that federal funding, we're ready to submit the application upon the board approval. In compliance with TC 44.002, 44.006, and Texas Law 2.2 through 2.6, budgeting section. The application for the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, consolidated federal funding is being presented for approval to submit to the proper headquarter authority. Under Title I, we are a Title I district. Under Title I, we have received an allocation of $3,456,589. Under Title II, Part C, which funds our migrant program, it's $167,386. Our Title II, Part A, which is for staff development, professional development, we've received $465,616. For Title III, Part A, ELA, that is our bilingual allotment of $181,103. And our Title IV, Part A, which is an additional grant that we get for student instruction. It has various variations that you can spend on. We received $246,928 for a grand total of $4,513,622.
Questions from board members? It's wonderful when we apply for grants and are successful at receiving additional monies for operation.
Definitely.
With no questions, recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration of the Board of Trustees approve the submittal of the ESSA Consolidated Federal E-Grant application in the amount of $4,513,622 for funding of all federal programs to the appropriated headquarter authority for the 22-23 year as presented.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're back to business and finance. Item 13B, consideration to approve the 2022-2023 district compensation plans. Ida Garcia.
Yes, sir.
Hi
Good
there.
evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. In accordance to DEA local, the superintendent shall recommend to the board for approval a compensation plan for all district employees. Tonight, we will be recommending a 3% general pay increase, and also we will be recommending a 2-year plan to get to the 15 minimum, which is $13.50. In front of you, you have the compensation pay plan, and the way this is set up is that each page has the current 2021, 2022 compensation plan, and on the next side, it has the 2022, 2023 proposal. Then in back of that sheet is a clear copy, which is the one that Mr. Mesa is going to sign so that we can upload to our website. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first page, as you can see, this is for the teacher recommendation. As mentioned, this is a 3.1 general pay increase to the teacher, so it can equal to $1,800 of increase. This will give our starting salary to be $51,750 versus last year, $50,250. So this will make us more marketable. The next page is the clean copy that our board president will sign. Next, we have the administrative professional pay plan. In red are the changes from last year, and in blue is what it will change for the minimum, the midpoint, and the maximum. On pay grade 4, we're also removing the administrator for special populations. We will not have that position anymore. Under the coordinator for Del Rio Cares, we're removing the P-TECH, and we're also removing the curriculum coordinator for secondary because we haven't had that position. On the ranges, you can see how it changes from the 3%, and I'll just give the first example, which for the 2021, for pay grade 1, the starting pay was $204, which it'll change to $216. And you can see how all the other pay grades are changed from the 2021 plan to the 2022-2023 plan. The next page, we're removing the assistant athletic director. We will not carry this position for the 2022-2023 school year. And there was no other changes for the additional pay grades. You can see the recommendations for the 3%. And red is the 2021 to 2022, and the 2022 to 2023. The next 2 pages are the clean copies. Then we'll move to the paraprofessional minimum wage with a 2-year plan, the $13.50. That's your mauve tab that you have there. So as you can see, we start with pay grade 1. That used to be at $10.72. And the minimum starting pay for the 2022-2023 school year will be $13.50. And you can see how it impacts every pay grade as we move to pay grade 2, pay grade 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there are no changes as far as the titles for the compensation pay plan. Following that page, there's 2 pages that are going to be signed by President Mesa and uploaded to our 3 pages uploaded to our webpage. Then we'll go to the $13.50 minimum for our auxiliary. That is your green tab. And as you can see, the lowest pay under category 1, that pay grade 1 was $10.25, so that will increase $13.50. And each of the pay grades is listed with the pay for 2021, 2022, and how it will increase for 2022 to 2023. Followed by that page is the clear copy. And then we'll go to the tab that says Other, the blue copy, or the blue tab. This is our teacher stipends. The only change that we're making here and on the other copies is changing the date from 2021-2022 to 2022 to 2023. We're clarifying the verbiage on secondary ELA, ESL teachers, where it says servicing 25 or more ESL students, the stipend is $2,000. They must have a secondary ESL certificate. If they're servicing 10 to 24 ESL students, then the stipend is $1,000. We're including the sheltered team, which is servicing 25 or more ESL students with a core team model, and the stipend is $2,000. And they also must be ESL secondary certified, and if they're serving 10 to 24 ESL students with a core model, is also $1,000. On the bottom, we removed the grants that were available as stipend, which was the COVID vaccine clinics, the vaccine project, and special education complete full evaluations. So those grants are not available for the 2022-2023 school year. Followed is the clean copy. And then all the other corrections just indicate the change to the new school year, which you have the supplemental stipends. Again, everything remains the same. Only under the coordinator for Del Rio Cares program, we're removing the PTEC, but all the other stipends are the same. We're just changing the school year. The second page also continues with supplemental stipends, just changing the year, as well as the third page. And then the next 3 pages is our corrected copies that will be uploaded, followed by the athletic stipends. Again, there's no new changes for these stipends. The only change we're making is the school year. Followed by the athletic stipend is the clean copy. Then we go to the substitute pay scale. This also is only changing the school year. Following the clear copy. Then we go to part-time temporary pay. No changes either. We're only updating the school year as well as the page following. Then it follows by the 2 clean copies. And the last one is the summer school rates. just changing the school year again from 2021 to 2022, from 2021 to 2022, 2023. Any questions on the compensation pay plan?
Mr. Orfeld?
Real quick question on auxiliary 1350, pay grade 1. It shows, you know, the red crossed out, the 182, the 189, so forth and so on. And I don't know if it's my copy, but 182, it shows 14,924 at 10.25 an hour. And then 182 days at 1350, it's 14,742, and then it's 16, it's 14,742, so it looks like a drop. Is that a misprint?
Yes.
Dr. Rios?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Ofer, in looking throughout the plan, there's some adjustments that are going to have to be made throughout the whole plan.
Dr. Rios, for that, I'm sorry, for that one specifically, we changed, if you see, that's for employees working 6 hours. So before, it didn't differentiate whether there were 6 hours or 8 hours. So what we did to be more transparent is we listed the 182 days twice, and one with 6 hours and the other one with 8 hours.
Okay, but so the 21-22, is that an average of the two at 14.92, or is that
That
the
was
one that you're-
calculated at 8 hours.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Ofer, if I was interrupted. There's problems with the whole pay scale throughout. Okay, so we understand the wishes of the board to raise it to $13.50 an hour. We're going to have TASB revisit with Human Resources and bring it back with an adjustment. I was talking to the attorney a little earlier, and he said that as long as we approve it with an understanding that there will be potential amendments. So we just need to make it clear. And
Okay.
we'll bring it back with a listed item per job so that the board's clear on what the pay raise is at every pay grade.
Okay, and then my second question is on the teacher stipends. It says Angelo State, but I thought we're no longer with Angelo State.
No, sir.
So on the clean copy, that needs to go away as well, right? Angelo State University dual credit instructor, because we're no longer with them. We're completely with SWTJC.
Yes, sir. Angelo State goes away entirely, and there is no stipend for teaching with WTJC.
Right.
The only question I have is, we just approved the strategic plan, and it calls for building up capacity for substitutes as well. And so that's one area that I kind of wish we could improve every year, as far as teachers that are certified, teachers that are degreed, for that to go up, Dr. Rios.
Absolutely, Mr. Mesa, and the committee will review all of that and bring a recommendation to the board, and you can change that at any time during the school year. So we'll try to expedite that, but we have to form that committee first. But we'll certainly bring a recommendation that includes that. It's just not ready right now, but that's something that you can change anytime during the year.
Yes, because, I know for the benefit of the new board members, we spent over $1 million on substitutes, and so it's to our benefit that we have the best qualified people in the classroom to continue the curriculum and achievement of success, for students, and especially we have, the committee that's working on that, improve what goes on when there's a substitute. And also to be able to give those retired teachers an option to come back and work for us at a part-time basis as far as substitute. So we can revisit that, Dr. Rios.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Galindo?
Dr. Rios, can you just, like, again, I'm just trying to gather again with Josh, so the auxiliary and pay grade like 1 and 2, that's not a definite pay scale as of right now. That wouldn't be the official pay scale.
Yeah, that is actually pretty close to what it would be, sir. The problem is, as the pay grades go higher, the increase decreases. So for example, let's just take the bus monitor for special education, which is pay grade 2. Okay, right now, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong tab. I was about to give a bigger raise than what you're intending. Let me go back to that. All right, bus monitor for special education, for example. Okay. Right now, it shows $11.03 an hour. Okay. So if you look over on the blue side, it says $13.80. That's a increase of almost $3. It's I think it's $2.97 to be exact. Okay. So that's pretty close to what the wishes of the board are. But if you go all the way down to bus driver, okay, to HVAC mechanic, for example, that's pay grade 7. Okay. That only goes from $20.63 to $21.62. That's only an hour. I'm sorry, that's only $1. So we needed to work with TASB just to make sure that's clear and clarified, and then to come back and explain that to the board. And if we need to do an amendment at that time, then we'll do that, and we're allowed to.
And the reason I'm asking, and I'll explain my example that I'm seeing here. So pay grade 1, you have a food service worker at 6, 15,744 for night 192, and then it would go to 15,552.
No, that's the one that Ms. Garcia was talking about, where it goes to 8 hours, and that doesn't jive. We're clear if we look at the hourly rate on the top. Those numbers, we're going to have to be able to clarify them. So for that, I would encourage you to look at the minimum starting at 1025. And the minimum at 1350, and then we'll recalculate those just to make sure that.
That's what I was saying, so it has to be recalculated, but
Yeah.
there's, okay, so nobody's gonna lose money in any of this, right?
No, sir, no, sir, they won't. Good?
Anyone else with a question? I just want to make sure again that, we're approving the compensation plan, but I want to make sure that if any corrections need to be made, that we're made aware of them.
Absolutely, and we'll bring that because it may entail a budget amendment as well, so we'll definitely bring that back.
Okay. Did you finish with your presentation?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, and again, I just want to mention again the substitutes, if we can, we want to improve everything that strategic plan calls for, so whatever needs to get done.
Just to be clear, Ms. Hernandez, so those committees are going to be formed this summer. That was our goal. And so then we just need to make a note that when that committee is formed, that Mr. Jurado was talking about the scale of pay that's one of the first things that we asked him to address so that we can bring a recommendation. I just want to be clear, so we're going to need at least 60 days for that. Okay, but we'll bring a recommendation.
Okay.
And Mr. Mesa, just for you to know, like, for example, for our retired teachers that are certified, the daily rate is $175, where our substitutes just with a bachelor's degree, it's $85.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there is a
If they're
difference.
teaching in the subject area that they're
Right.
certified in.
And if not, 110.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Anyone else with a question for? Okay, recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2022-2023 district compensation plan as presented.
I want to make sure that everyone is in agreement. Okay, so then the recommendation has been read by administration. Now, entertain a motion for approval.
Call for a record vote.
Questions?
Oh, I'm just saying, I call for a record vote.
Okay. Mr. Galindo?
4.
Okay. Amy Haynes? Ms. Webb? Myself, 4. Ms. Gonzalez? 4. Mr. Orfeld?
Against.
Against? Okay, and Becky Chavez?
4.
4.
Yes.
Okay, we have 6 for and 1 no. Okay, motion
Thank you.
passes. Compensation plan passes. Item 13C, consideration to approve the 2022-2023 district official budget. And before I call Amy, Dr. Rios, you want to explain what a council said for us today?
Yes, Mr. Russo. I visited with council and I specifically asked if the budget would change, would we require another public hearing? And he said that in his interpretation, it would, and it would also include a 10-day posting, which we would then not meet the deadline. Now, obviously, if the budget didn't change, well then, there you go, but we don't know that. So his advice was that we move forward with the approval of the budget with the caveat that there could possibly be amendments in the future. So his recommendation specifically was, alternatively, the board can adopt the budget that has been noticed and prepared for tonight, but make a caveat that certain items may be subject to budget amendments.
Okay, just so everyone will understand.
Yes, I had asked for, for that request because I, at the time, did not have a complete vision or of what, of the budget thing, but as the board spoke and there were a lot of information, especially from Mr. Overfelt and from Mr. Mesa, I became clear. I also had talked to Amy concerning the budget. Since I'm a new member, I wanted to have a clear picture of what we were going to approve. So thank you, Mr. Rios and the rest of the board for speaking up and giving me, to me, it was more information, plus what I had to just get a clear picture before I voted, so. thank you.
Okay, great. So we're approving the budget, and then with the understanding that if we need to make amendments, they will be made between now and Thursday. Dr. Rios?
I'll read the recommendation. That's okay? Yeah. Read the recommendation?
Yes.
Board President Mesa, members of the board, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2022-2023 district official budget with the understanding that possible amendments can be made in the future. This budget includes the general fund budget, the debt service budget, and the food service budget.
Thank you, sir. You've heard the recommendation from administration. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Mr. Galindo. Is there a second to the motion? Becky Chavez. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Human Resources, item 14A, consideration to approve the conversion of the registrar to principal secretary from Early College High School. Aide Garcia.
Yes, sir. Since the inception of Early College High School, they were allotted a receptionist and they never had a principal secretary, and that's because the enrollment was low. So now that the enrollment has increased, administration is requested to convert the position of registrar to principal secretary, and it is a higher pay grade, so this position will assume both responsibilities of the registrar and the principal secretary. And the registrar is a vacancy currently. Any questions?
Any questions from board members?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Orfeld.
I know, and as you just said now, and then Dr. Rios, as you put in the update about the need for it because numbers have gone up. each year it's been, since we started, it's 120 students in each cohort, give or take. And then that number drops down because of those dropping out and going back into the high school program. So since really 2020, the numbers should all be flatlined as opposed to constantly going up. So are we basing the numbers going up on cohort 1, 2, 3, and 4? Because 5, 6, 7, and 8 should all be the same number of students based on the lottery. So I just wanted clarification on that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. The numbers did go up over the years with each cohort. We got to a point where they reached the capacity. And then we tried different things to help the campus, including hiring a difference between a parental aide and somebody with maybe more skills. We went into the COVID pandemic, which reduced the activity, but now we're back full swing, and we find ourselves in a position where we have to recruit somebody that is able to perform the duties of the registrar at a higher level. And this is our strategy to be able to, one, compensate the position accordingly, and two, be able to recruit somebody who can handle both tasks.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, recommendation, please.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of the registrar to principal secretary for the early college high school as presented.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion made by Mr. Galindo, seconded by Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 9:48 p.m. We're going to close session pursuant to policy 551.074 and 551.071. If any action needs to be taken on any item in closed session, it will be taken upon reconvening into open session. We're now in executive session. Thank you. Okay, the time is 11:07 p.m. No action was taken in executive. We're going to reconvene to open session. We're now in item 18A on the agenda. Consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Aide Garcia.
Yes, good evening again. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resignations, vacancies, and following new personnel. Rocio Rodriguez, pre-kindergarten teacher at Irene Cardwell Elementary. Amber Carda, kinder teacher at Buena Vista Elementary. Arturo Gonzalez, social studies teacher at Del Rio Middle School, 7th grade. Luis Villasana, history teacher at Del Rio Middle School, 8th grade. Kami Timms, science teacher at Del Rio Freshman School. Crystal Horton, English practical writing teacher at Del Rio High School. And Juan Vargas, assistant athletic trainer at Del Rio High School.
You've heard the recommendation from administration. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Amy Haynes made the motion, seconded by Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18B, consideration to approve the position of principal at Garfield Elementary. Aide Garcia.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mr. Carlos Ramirez, principal for Garfield Elementary.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Galindo, second by Mr. Overfeld. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes. Item 18C, consideration to approve the position of Dean of Instruction for Del Rio Middle School. Aide Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mr. Jesse Davila as Dean of Instruction for Del Rio Middle School.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18D, consideration to approve the position of bilingual strategist for Lonnie Green Elementary. Fede Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mrs. Brenda Hernandez as the bilingual strategist for Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Put it for the next board meeting.
There being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Mr. Orfeld, seconded by Mr. Galindo. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.